What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 69 of the Silver and Gold. I'm Josh.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're going to be discussing some very, I guess, important and quick news. Like, it feels like 1 week later and the Raiders already have a brand new general manager. The Raiders have hired John Spytek. Mike, tell us about John Spytek, and I guess you can tell us more about John Spytek because you already had mentioned him last week when we were talking about general manager candidates. Mm-hmm. What do you know about him? What do you like about him? Tell us.
He's got a lot of connections to Tom Brady. That's for sure. I did send some tweets to the Silver and Gold Twitter account if you want to pull those up. Okay. I think that'll kind of help with me explaining everything, just giving a little visual aid, if you will. I sent a bunch of articles. We're not going to go super hardcore into those, but just go to the top from Monday from Deshaun Reed. I just want to start there. And then
is it to recap for the Raiders?
Yeah.
Okay.
So just for the current layout and I guess previous layout for the GM search, but Deshaun Reed here from The Athletic shows us who the GM candidates were on the bottom, and then on the top were the head coach candidates that the Raiders have interviewed so far. So obviously, I'll start with the GMs. They interviewed Lance Newman, Chad Alexander, Brandon Brown, John Spytek, John Eric Sullivan, and Sheldon White. If you want to know where those guys are from, you could search them up. Otherwise, I don't really care anymore because we have John Spytek. And from all of the discourse on Twitter and anywhere else, it seemed to me like Spytek was the obvious choice. And in large part because he's genuinely earned this shot and he's ready for this job, it seems. He has proven in his past with the Buccaneers and even his time with, say, the Broncos, he has propelled himself towards this moment, in an earned fashion, not like this was rushed or something. Like, this makes sense. That being said, he did have the connection to Tom Brady that probably pushed him over the edge, as far as the GM search. So now I'll get more into John Spytek in a second, but at least for right now, obviously the next point of attack is to find the coach, and Spytek will be a big part of that, I think, in helping with that search and maybe doing that, second round of interviews, and now he'll be a part of that, right? Because they did the first round, whether it was in person or virtual, with guys like Spags from the Chiefs, Todd Monken. I want to say those two were virtual because they're still in the playoffs, or Monken was in the playoffs. And then Vance Joseph. Ron Rivera was the most recent one. That was after our last pod. Pete Carroll, of course, Robert Saleh. And then, in the past couple of days, Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn got hired by the Bears and Jets respectively. I would go on about Ben Johnson, but I don't feel like it. It's not really the topic right now. But, to make a long story short, Spytek will have a say in those candidates, and it's also possible because now that Johnson's gone, and I mean the only other guy on that list that's an offensive-minded head coach would be Todd Monken. I feel like they should possibly expand their search. You might at this point you can kind of take your time. It's only you, the Jags, and the Saints, I think, unless I'm missing a team. At this point, you could take your time and you could wait for the Bills to be out of the playoffs, and then look into their offensive coordinator, whose name I'm totally forgetting right now. I mean, there's not many other. I mean, I guess Cliff Kingsbury from Washington, and then there's Kellen Moore from the Eagles. But I don't really care for Kellen Moore like that. Kingsbury, I mean, shit. What Washington has done has been impressive. We're going to talk about it, but I think of all those guys, it would definitely be the Bills offensive coordinator, whose name is totally passing me right now.
You're talking about the current one or the old one?
Current
one. His name is also passing
Joe Brady.
Yeah, Joe Brady. I was thinking of the guy who threw the tantrums.
Yeah, no, we're not going for that guy.
Ken
Yeah. So go ahead and pull up the next tweet that I sent from Vic Tafer. And just for reference, as far as I guess this would be the moment to talk about Ben Johnson. Mark Davis from Vic Tafer has been fluid and quiet throughout this Brady-assisted process. Hire Ben Johnson first and a GM he knew, or hire a GM first, Spytek, and then look at coaching candidates again. It was a package deal either way. That makes a lot of sense to me. And it sure does feel, based off of the reporting that has come out ever since, or even before Monday when Ben Johnson was hired by the Bears, all the hype going into that weekend was, man, the Raiders sure seem like the front runner for Ben Johnson. And at least the clearest reporting was that Ben Johnson was their top choice, right?
Yeah.
And then Monday comes, and I even saw a report that, yeah, the Raiders are working to get Ben Johnson in the building. They're trying to meet with him after the Lions had lost. And then without even, I don't think this has ever happened, without even physically meeting with the Bears, it was announced that Ben Johnson was going to the Bears on Monday, next day, just lost in the divisional round. And I was just like, okay. So what that felt like, which is not new to Raider fans, was a coach using the Raiders for leverage. That's what that felt like to me. And, more power to you. That's part of the business. I'd like to tell myself that Brady getting him in the building really did make him consider it, but then he's talking at the Bears presser like it was always the Bears. This is always where I've wanted to be. I always wanted to be in the NFC North, all that shit. So it's like, all right.
Well, what else is he going to say? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
is he going to say, yeah, I actually thought that I didn't want to be here. And then I got a call from, several Benjamin Franklins from your guys' owner, and now I'm on the Bears. No, he's got to sell it to the fans,
Yeah.
But
one thing also helps. It helps the locker room and everything to be like, oh, this guy was always in for us. Like, this was always his choice. I get that.
What I find interesting is the Raiders fired Telesco in order to have the opening, available to hire a GM and a coach. Was that only for Ben Johnson?
I don't think so. I think there's probably a tweet somewhere that I could put in here, but I'd have to look for it. I think once Brady came in and started having a say, I think it became clear that we need to reset, and that's not me trying to say like it was all Brady, but I think the culmination of all the people in the decision-making room for the Raiders decided, yeah, what's best is to reset. If we're going to let go of Antonio Pierce, let's reset completely. And if I'm being honest, this is just a hunch. I haven't heard this at all, but my guess would be, what I was going to say is my guess would be that Brady felt like Spytek would probably be his guy, So it's like, yeah, let's get Telesco out of here. And hopefully, worst case scenario, we get Spytek and a coach that we all like, including Spytek. But the other aspect to add on to that is if we also get rid of Telesco, you're making this landing spot more desirable for coaches that want a big say, like a Ben Johnson. So if Ben Johnson was always option A for the Raiders, firing Telesco made that more intriguing for him. And then if you don't get Ben Johnson, obviously they didn't, then you have a guy like Spytek who Brady is confident in, you know. So I think it was, in a way, a win-win situation. Like I like what Telesco did as far as drafting Bowers, Jackson Powers Johnson, and DJ Glaze. Signing Christian Wilkins was awesome. There were a couple other, veterans that he signed that I thought were good pickups, but otherwise, he didn't do anything too flashy or impressive. And he the biggest knock that you can leave for Telesco is he left the quarterback room nowhere better than it was coming in, So I think getting a guy who, as I'll probably show in these upcoming tweets and some of the stuff that I'll read, I think getting Spytek is a more exciting move than keeping Telesco for the Raiders.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that the familiarity with Brady helps a lot. I don't know how familiar Brady was with Telesco, and that doesn't mean that Telesco did a bad job last season. I just think that it means the closer that you can have the front office and working towards a common goal and being on the same page with the general manager, I think probably the better. Especially too, like they, like you said, wanted to give Ben Johnson the opportunity since he was the top, probably their top candidate. The opportunity for him to pick his general manager and to make this landing spot more appealing, but it didn't work out that way. Okay, so now forget Ben Johnson. I want to talk about who's next. And we talked about it last week a little bit, and then you mentioned it at the end of your Raider coaching options the week before. And it's a name that I think if you inserted on the Raiders would not have the clear-cut worst head coach in their division anymore. And that guy is Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll is the hire for the Raiders. And if they don't, and Pete Carroll doesn't land anywhere else, I would be shocked. Like, if Pete Carroll doesn't go to the Raiders as a head coach and Robert Saleh / Pete Carroll don't go to the Niners, I'm just going to, as a defensive coordinator, I am just going to, I'm just going to say, what a waste of an opportunity. Because I really think that in a division full of coaches like Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton, Pete Carroll fits in there. He would actually, he's one of the only coaches available right now. He might be the only coach besides, Belichick technically isn't available because he's at in college, or coaching in college. But Pete Carroll is the only guy who's available who has won a Super Bowl.
Yep.
And didn't he win a national championship in college? Didn't I look that up?
I want to say he's won 2 with USC.
Yeah. I think he's the guy. He's the guy.
Yeah. So basically, we'll get back to Spytek in a second, but the way that my reaction was on Monday to the Ben Johnson news to the Bears, first off, I wanted Ben Johnson just because I felt he was the best coaching candidate as far as what the Raiders need, which is an offensive-minded guy that you can keep for years to come, right? And I think if Pete Carroll were 10 years younger, he might have been my top choice regardless. The only not hiccups, but holdbacks for me with him are obviously his age, and I'm not so much worried about this anymore, but the fact that he's a defensive-minded coach, I'm like, well, I'd still rather have an offensive-minded coach. But then I look at the rest of the candidates the Raiders have looked at so far, and I'm like, well, it's Pete Carroll by a mile at this point, So my reaction Monday was like, motherfucker. And what I was going to say was like, another reason why I wanted Ben Johnson was because Bears fans started becoming so fucking annoying on Twitter. Like, just unbearable. Any like Raider post about Ben Johnson reportedly being, the top candidate for the Raiders or whatever, just Bears fans galore in the comments, just like blah blah blah, just bitching and moaning. And it was just beyond me. Where it started to fucking annoy me. It really did. So I started becoming not only like, wow, I really want Ben Johnson for the Raiders because, I think that'd be a good hire, but also because fuck Bears fans. Well, they got Ben Johnson, they got their guys, so they can do with that whatever, but, I'm kind of preying on their downfall now, to be honest with you. But
I'm just shocked that Ben Johnson wanted to stay in the division. But I didn't think about it from this aspect, but he has literally spent the past couple of years play calling against these teams. So he's already got a head start of play calling against his division rivals. But not only that, at practice every single day during training camp, he was play calling against his defense.
Yeah, no, that it does make sense strategically of like, he already has a good idea of game planning against 6 of his opponents. That's pretty big. So that makes a lot of sense.
But you know what? The way that it all unfolded, Lions fans fucking hate him when they should love him.
Yeah, because he just immediately left, and it was like, oh, he has been, quietly building a coaching staff, behind closed doors with Dennis Allen and stuff, and Bears or Lions fans are probably like, what the fuck? Like, we're in the playoffs. Why are you, But that's
but also too, the decision came like 2 days after they were eliminated.
One
day after they were eliminated.
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't know. My guess would be he just anticipated this is the year to take a coaching job.
He was hired Monday. That's 2. Second day.
Okay, yeah, Saturday. That's right.
They played Saturday.
Yeah.
But still, and the NFL needs to get rid of that shit. That's horrible.
They need to push
coaches.
The coach, yeah. It needs to be after the playoffs. But I understand it, for these teams of like, well, we really need a guy in here so we could start getting, ready for free agency ASAP. I get that, but it's like, it's really like
they could push it back. They could push back free agency a little
bit. Yes, correct. I think that's probably the way to go. But
because literally there's always that dead period in June, like May and June where there's nothing going on. If they just push everything back a little bit, it would literally be perfect for football all year.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so I mean that's just all annoying. But my reaction to that was, annoyed. Of course, the Bears fans got him that were bitching and moaning all weekend about if Ben Johnson chooses the Raiders, I don't even want him. If he can't make a smart decision, I don't fucking want him. Suck my, what, dude? Shut up.
His big toe.
God, just fucking annoying. Bears fans are just. I mean, you want to talk about Raider fans being poverty, dude. Bears fans are living through it. So have fun with your quarterback. It'll probably work out for them. Fuck. But whatever. But, Monday I was sort of just like, well, fuck, now what? And then, I don't know if it was Monday night or Tuesday. It was Monday night. I got home and I was like, you know what? Pete Carroll just makes so much sense. And
well, I sent you a text message too. There was a text message that you said that I sent you, right? In the group chat about even if you did hire Ben Johnson, the Raiders would still have the worst coach in the division.
Yeah, you and I were going back and forth on some shit talk, and then at the end your clapback was, yeah, even if you hire Ben Johnson, you still have the worst coach in the division. And this wasn't my epiphany. It was just after thinking about it, and I was like, yeah, Pete Carroll makes the most sense. Of all the candidates, Pete Carroll makes the most sense. Like, he's just proven all this shit. And then I thought about your text, and I was like, actually, like, as far as NFL career and even overall career, Pete Carroll is not the worst coach in the AFC West if he's hired today.
Who
The
is?
worst coach, it would be Jim Harbaugh by NFL history standards.
Yeah,
But
by like
really,
Super Bowl standards.
yeah, but really, I think even though by coaching career standards, Pete Carroll wouldn't be the worst coach in the AFC West, he would probably still be the least exciting because he's the oldest, right? And it's like,
Dude,
how
he's
long can this
full of
really last?
energy, man.
He's so
He's
full of
full of
energy. And
yeah.
my main thing with him, he comes from a great tree, a great coaching tree, right? And obviously he's proven. He's won a Super Bowl. He was fucking 2 yards away and a handoff to Marshawn Lynch from winning two, you know. But I think the thing about him that makes the most sense to me is that if you want a guy to come in and reset the culture of this franchise, and even after he's gone, to have it continue, that culture. Like, what did I say? I said, what do I want from the coach? What do I want from the GM and coach hires and like moving forward for this franchise? What is the most important thing for me? It's continuity and consistency. I think a big part of that is developing a culture, a winning culture. And I think I said that. If there's any guy that's out there that's going to be able to do that, it's Pete fucking Carroll. 1,000%. Guys will buy in immediately with him. 14 seasons with the Seahawks. He went to the playoffs 10 times. He's a winner. I think I don't know his exact playoff record, but let's just say it was like 14-10, or I'm probably just mixing up the same numbers, but something like that. Like he might have had a winning record in the playoffs, I want to say. I mean, you would know, dude. The fucking Harbaugh Niners versus the Pete Carroll Seahawks, that was just it was not a fun time for you, but it, like, the fact that the Seahawks were able to get the best of you guys quite often in those big playoff games, that's just something to be said. I mean, that defense was dominant and everything, but
It's crazy because of how good that Niner team was and how dominant that Seahawks team was over that Niner team.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much Pete Carroll ruined my childhood.
Yeah. Yeah.
So instead of him becoming the head coach of your team, no. I need his ass to be the defensive coordinator for my team. I need him to right some wrongs and to fix this goddamn defense on the Niners.
Yeah, I think the best way to go about this is that Patrick Graham gets hired by the Jaguars. The Raiders get some comp picks out of that. Robert Saleh does not get hired by the Cowboys. The Cowboys make some stupid ass decision like Brian Schottenheimer or whatever the fuck they're gonna do. And then Robert Saleh defaults to becoming the Niners defensive coordinator, and then at some point between that, the Raiders hire Pete Carroll as their head coach. That's what should happen. Or at least that would be the best case scenario for all accounts. Except for the Jags. The Jags are a complete shit show. I mean, I think I'd love to see Pat Graham get a coaching opportunity just because it's Pat Graham. And whoever we hire, I don't expect Pat Graham to be back. So it's like, it's a win-win. Like, he deserves his shot, but also, hey, because of the NFL rules, we would get 2 third-round comp picks out of that. And I would very much love that. And I think John Spytek would love that too. So to get back to Spytek, but also still kind of on the Pete Carroll topic, I'm just going to read 2 things from Paul Gutierrez's ESPN column that he put on Spytek. Raiders owner Mark Davis has said in the past he was not comfortable in pairing a first-time GM with a first-year head coach. So, on the Pete Carroll topic, if John Spytek is a first-time GM, it makes sense to me to hire a coach with past head coaching experience. And quite a few guys that were on the list that we showed earlier actually have that, including Robert Saleh, Vance Joseph, Spagnuolo from the Chiefs. But if there's one guy that's just like just a singing obvious outlier compared to all those guys, it's the guy that's won the Super Bowl. It's the guy that's went to the playoffs 10 out of 14 seasons with his team, Pete Carroll. And a guy that I would be just convinced he would reset the culture for this franchise for years to come. And I think it'd be a great pairing, him and Spytek. The things that I've heard of Spytek and the things that I was reading on Carroll, like he has very specific philosophies. I was listening to a bunch of podcasts from a year ago when, some Seahawks fans thought that he was, fully done. They were kind of really going in on like their appreciation for Pete Carroll. And they were just giving little tidbits about him. And I'm just like, man, he's so interesting. And he has like a book called like Forever Win or Win Forever or something like that. And he goes, more in depth on his philosophies in there. So that's something. But, I'm not going to keep going on that. Just I have sold myself quite strongly on Pete Carroll right now. And unless they go out and try to get Joe Brady, because Liam Cohen's off the market, he pulled out from the Jags this morning. I don't think there's any other guy other than Todd Monken offensively that makes sense. And defensively, Pete Carroll's the only guy that I'd want. And I know some Raider fans might kind of like roll their eyes like, well, at best that's a 5-year plan, but it might only be 3 years because he's 73, I think. He'd be the oldest coach in the NFL. But we know who Pete Carroll is, and we know that how young at heart he is. And I think the way that his Seahawks tenure ended, I'd have to imagine that he has a chip on his shoulder and he has some sort of unfinished business. But also, like, through understanding his philosophies and whatnot, it's clear that at the end of the day, this dude is simply put a competitor, and he fucking loves being a competitor. And obviously he loves winning, right? But I can't talk enough about how much I believe that he would change the culture of this team more so than Ben Johnson. So,
yeah, because Ben Johnson is a first-time head coach. We still don't know. Like, we know he's a creative, play caller. We know that for a fact. We've seen it. However, we don't know if Ben Johnson can be a leader of men for a long period of time. If things don't go good immediately, how long he can keep people, keep the locker room buying in, before they stop buying in. And then, they play for their self-interest. They don't want to play as a team. I think Dan Campbell does such a great job in Detroit of doing that, where,
right.
You don't have to rely on Ben Johnson. He just has to call the play. So I'm not saying Ben Johnson does not provide that. I'm just saying we have to see it. Pete Carroll, we know he provides that.
Yeah. And the only reason that Pete Carroll ever potentially lost a locker room was because of how devastatingly bad that Super Bowl loss was against the Patriots at the end of the game, right? And people sort of starting to have these rumors and whatnot leaking out of the locker room that, there was a Russell Wilson problem and whatnot. I think there were a lot of egos in that locker room, but, regardless, that culture for that Seahawks franchise was, leaps and bounds better than before Pete Carroll touched that team.
Yeah, man, he took his shirt off before drafting DK Metcalf, or probably after the meeting, DK Metcalf, and that doesn't mean. It really doesn't mean much, but like, he is a player's coach. His players 1,000%. like to play for him. And like, here's one thing I'll say: the age factor. You said Pete Carroll is 73.
I believe he's 73.
Dude, our president right now is 78, and he is going to be serving a 4-year term. I think Pete Carroll can coach a football team. That's just my take.
I think Pete Carroll is better at coaching a football team than most presidential candidates would be at being the president right now. So I'll leave it at that.
I don't think the age is going to be such a big factor. Like I did like the Mr. Deeds like meme that I sent you the other day, where it's like, oh, Pete Carroll's got a 5-year plan, and then it was like a GIF from Mr. Deeds, and it was like he said he's got a 5-year plan. What's the plan? Not die?
Yeah.
I love that, but I really do think that Pete Carroll is the best option right now. I'm not very interested in Todd Monken yet. He's second-year offensive coordinator.
With the Ravens, he has Todd Monken actually has a long history of coaching. When I looked more into it, I became more intrigued. Like when we had our coaching candidate episode, like I had 20, 25 guys. Monken was pretty low on that list, in large part because I was like, all right, this dude's never been a head coach, and he's like in his 60s. Like this is just a guy who's never been able to be a head coach. That's the way that I took that. But I didn't take into account that, all right, when he was the offensive play caller at Georgia, they won national championships. And that was including Brock Bowers on that team. And he also has been a head coach for, I believe, a college team, but not like a major college team, at least that I think of, years back. And obviously now with the Ravens, I think Lamar Jackson has gotten better as a quarterback under Todd Monken, which would give me hope for, if they got Todd Monken as the head coach, it would give me hope that he could bring in a quarterback and coach him to be a good quarterback, in his system, which that's the other aspect is I like Todd Monken's offense, So I don't mind Todd Monken. I think right now he's probably my second choice because I think if I had to guess, Joe Brady's less of a head coach material than Todd Monken, but I could be wrong, But I think right now Joe Brady would probably be my third choice, and they haven't even interviewed him. So then, looking at the rest of the guys, it would probably be Steve Spagnuolo.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as being an ex-head coach and being one of the top coaches in the league, I might actually prefer Spags over Monken. So, but it's just that offensive coordinator aspect that points me towards Monken.
Yeah, Space Beast in the chat tuning into the channel says Monken coached Brock Bowers. Yeah, that's what Mike just said. One with Stetson Bennett in college, and Todd Monken head coach, Spytek GM, to McMillan wide receiver. I can't pronounce that first name. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
At 6. Okay, so taking a wide receiver in the first round. That's interesting. I'm not opposed to that for the Raiders because that way teams aren't honing in on Brock Bowers. I do think that there's other needs that the Raiders could fill at number 6. Milroe or Dart in the second round, Scatabo running back in the third. What do you think, Mike?
From what I've heard of this draft class, the running back position is extremely deep this year. Scatabo is a fucking beast. I can't wait to start really getting into the draft prospects. But the things that I've seen of him, like this dude's a menace. And that would be a lot of fun. And frankly, I like this idea, including Todd Monken, but I mean, that's another aspect of Pete Carroll is like even though he's a defensive minded coach, he has offensive philosophies. Namely, I think he was well known for running the ball quite a bit. I think he wanted to control the time of possession paired with a great defense, to stop the opposing offense. So you're just clocking the game, scoring points, and you're preventing the other team from scoring points. It's a winning strategy, right? So long as your team is capable of carrying out that strategy. Getting a good running back or even 2 running backs make a lot of sense to me with Pete Carroll. And like a guy like Scatabo could totally make sense. And of course, also with Todd Monken. We'll call him Tet McMillan at 6. I've been open to that. Actually, I remember first hearing about McMillan almost 2 years ago. Because this dude has put up insane numbers at Arizona State. Or sorry, Arizona. And the way that I would put McMillan, we're still going to get back to Spytek, by the way. But the way that I would describe McMillan is a mix of mostly T. Higgins, but he has shades of Mike Evans. That's the way that I would put him. And I mean, that feels like kind of the perfect pairing to go with Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers. You have that Bowers who can kind of do it all at a position where you don't really expect him to do it all. And then Jacoby Myers, who I think is one of the more underrated wide receivers in the league. I think he was the only receiver who didn't drop a pass, who had more than like 100 targets this past season or something like that. So sure-handed, good route runner. And then you have a guy like McMillan who he's not like the fastest guy in the world, but fuck me, his hands. That sounded weird, but his hands are he's sure-handed. He makes insane catches.
You want him to do what to you with his hands?
Yeah. I want him to catch
Excuse me?
passes for the Raiders. But also being a deep target and an end zone target for whoever's at quarterback, I love the idea of that. And then Milroe or Dart, personally, I prefer Dart by a mile right now. And it's still, I think the jury is still out on whether or not Jackson Dart is a second or third round pick or even a first round pick. I have no idea. But if he is, labeled as like a second round pick, this all sounds great to me. The only thing, going with damn it, what are wide receivers, tight ends, and running backs? They are considered what positions? Skill positions.
Skill.
Sorry, thank you. I think right now in the where this team is at, unless we go out and sign a big time guard in free agency, I don't think starting the draft with skill position, quarterback skill position makes a lot of sense. We do have 2 third-round picks, so maybe the second, third pick could be a running back. I do like the idea of a running back like around the 3rd or 4th round, but me personally, I'm solidifying the offensive line. And there's also a guy in the 1st round at 6 overall that I'm starting to really like the idea of, and the position might not make the most sense, but I think if this dude is as dominant as he looks, we would have a nasty fucking defensive line with Mason Graham from Michigan, defensive tackle.
I can almost guarantee that if there's no first-round quarterback that's available that's, worth a first-rounder, I think the Raiders are going to go with an offensive lineman, maybe the best offensive lineman available if they're worthy of that pick, only because Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay, and the first thing that they did, and Spytek was was at least, he was in the building, right? The first thing that they did was they traded up and they drafted Tristan Wirfs. Right?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean there's a Tristan Wirfs in this draft to take, but I'd have to imagine that Brady understands the importance of offensive line. So I think that him playing quarterback, he knows that if you can't get one, it takes a couple years to build a unit in order to protect one by the time you're able to, put one in the building. And then maybe you could have that bridge quarterback. Maybe Rodgers becomes available. Maybe, whoever, right? Yeah. Maybe Sam Darnold becomes available because the Vikings don't pay him. Quarterbacks don't just come out of thin air, but offensive lines need to be built.
Yeah, I would rather focus on the offensive line. I mean, well, I shouldn't say I'd rather focus on offensive line than quarterback. Obviously, I want a quarterback this offseason some way, like whether it's a veteran that can compete or a rookie who can develop. Also, I don't even think the offensive line is that far off. I really feel like the offensive line is just one guard away from being like Yeah, that's good. And depth. That's why I want to draft offensive lineman mostly is for depth. I think you can sign a guard in free agency, stick him at left guard, Jackson Powers Johnson at center, Andre James, I guess, backup center. Maybe tell him, hey, start taking snaps at guard, if we need you. And then you have Dylan Parham on the right guard. DJ Glaze is good at right tackle. Colt Miller is good at left tackle. So it's really just left guard. But you could still keep Jackson Powers Johnson there, and it's like, if the coaching staff likes Andre James, we're good already. It's just depth at that point.
I disagree, man. The Raiders ranked 32nd in rushing yards in the NFL. They only had 1,357 rushing yards this season. I think one of the best ways to protect the quarterback is by also having a run game and not just being a drop back, every single play and passing the ball like they were this past year. And yeah, I mean, that also falls on the scheme of like Luke Getsy and everything, because they just
Coaching.
did not know. All right, there was clearly something broken with the way that they were run blocking. But I don't know, man. I think like, Saquon Barkley, that's the standard, right? The Eagles' offensive line right now is the standard. Yeah. I think that if you do not have the Eagles' offensive line, you should always be trying to always have the best. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I think maybe one excuse that I could give is that they had 2 starting rookies on the offensive line who were very much developing this past season. But by season's end, I feel like they looked like genuine starters, especially Jackson Powers Johnson. But DJ Glaze, like, for the most, I would, especially as a pass blocker, he looked like a solid starter in the NFL. And I'd like, maybe it's more wishful thinking, I'd like to think that it's like right tackle's set. Hey, Thayer Mumford's the backup. Like, we're good. Jordan Meredith, if they can keep him, if I want to say he's a restricted free agent, keep him. Solid depth on the interior. It just is DJ Glaze a problem in the run game? Is Dylan Parham a run game problem? Andre James got benched. Was Jackson Powers Johnson like struggling at times with the run blocking? Or was it the coaching staff? Like, obviously, no matter what, I think the best way to put it is this next, Spytek and the scouting department, but especially the coaching staff, needs to determine what was the problem and how do we fix it. I can definitely agree there. They got to fix it. Whether it's one guy or it's 3 or it's 5 guys. Colton Miller's only got 1 year left on his deal. So, hey, drafting a tackle at 6 overall, it's not out of the question. It's not out of it. So, and I wouldn't be opposed to it because I want to solidify the offensive line first and foremost. But regardless, that was a long spiel on roster building right now when I think we can focus more on just Spytek right now. But, points like this from Space Beast get me excited because I fucking love the draft. I'm excited for free agency, which is just 2 months away. It should be the end of March, if I had to guess. That's 2 months away. So, just like that, the roster is going to be ever-changing, and we're going to see what Spytek is up to. So, for now, I'm going to keep reading from Paul Gutierrez on ESPN, and then I'll do a little bit more on Spytek. And then
after you're done with your Spytek, we'll get to Amin and Space Beast comments.
Okay. So, from Paul Gutierrez, ESPN, Spytek and the Raiders' minority owner Tom Brady were college teammates at Michigan in 1999. Brady was the Wolverines' senior quarterback. Spytek was a freshman linebacker who was mostly on special teams, and were together in Tampa when the Buccaneers won Super Bowl LV55. Spytek's NFL career began as an operations intern with the Detroit Lions in 2004, before working as a player personnel intern with the Philadelphia Eagles in 2005. He also worked for the Cleveland Browns and Denver Broncos before joining the Buccaneers in 2016 as the director of player personnel. Can you pull up the next tweet that I sent you? I want to say it's from Deshaun Reed, and it's about his time with the Broncos. While you do, I'm going to keep reading. He was promoted to vice president of player personnel in 2021 for the Buccaneers, and then to assistant GM in 2023. In his career, he has worked with a number of top-level executives and coaches, including Jason Licht, the Buccaneers GM, John Elway, ex-Broncos GM, Andy Reid, Mike Holmgren, Tom Heckert, John Harbaugh, and Gary Kubiak.
Is this the right tweet?
That sure is. This is very intriguing to me, and I didn't know this, or at least I never put the pieces together. A note from Deshaun Reed. Raiders GM John Spytek worked for the Broncos from 2013 to 2015, where they won a Super Bowl, I want to say in 2015. Could be wrong there. He overlapped with assistant GM Champ Kelly and senior national scout Lenny McGill, so there could be some carryover in the personnel department. Remember, I think on the last pod I mentioned, well, in response to Tom Telesco getting fired, I said, well, keeping Champ Kelly now feels more imperative to me because it would be nice to have a guy in the building that can help the next GM in, hey, this is what the current roster looks like. This is what I've got on them. This is how I feel about our impending free agents, so on and so forth. Spytek has worked with Champ Kelly before, and Champ Kelly was the assistant GM for the Raiders the past how many seasons? So he knows this roster, and he's not going anywhere. That feels like the perfect scenario to me. I shouldn't call it perfect, but the best case scenario as far as this GM hiring cycle. I did not put two and two together that they had worked together until I saw this tweet from Deshaun Reed, and I was like, wow, that feels big to me personally. So let's see. Can you pull up the next tweet that I sent you from Mr. Booger McFarland? Good old Booger McFarland.
Gotta love Booger. Booger McFarland.
So I mean, these are more of some of the reactions to Spytek getting hired. I just like to hear. I like to see this stuff. But from Booger McFarland, earned. Can't wait to see what he does. One of the finest eyes of talent I've ever talked to. Now comes the biggest decisions of his career, coach and quarterback. Very true. But that's a lot of what I have kind of heard on or read on Twitter and whatnot, is that Spytek is really a great eye for talent. The next tweet that I sent you, I'm not going to read it, but there's a lot of good stuff from this, and I'd say anybody that's reading or watching this and wants some more stuff on Spytek, this is a good article to read from Rick Stroud, who is the Buccaneers insider. And then this is a great podcast I listened to today where it's basically a good 45-minute conversation with Spytek within the past year from Jordan Rodrigue for this The Athletic podcast that they have called The Play Callers. And there's a lot of good tidbits in there from sort of some of his strategies and just his experiences as coming up in the ranks from the scouting department to assistant GM with the Buccaneers. So a lot of good stuff there. Greg Auman, great hire. Spytek has been a central part of the Bucs being one of the NFL's most homegrown rosters. Great success in the draft, smart choices in free agency. He's been ready to run a team of his own for a few years now. And then another one that if anybody wants to read, this one's from Raiders Beat. People around the Whiz Kid knew he was special all the way back to his first year as an intern, I'm assuming, with the Lions. So those are some things that I'm not going to read right now, but that I would suggest if anybody wants to read up on them, those might be some good articles.
Yeah, those of you watching right now, you have homework.
Yep.
Professor Michael over here sending you home. If you want to know more about Spytek, he's giving you the source material. He's pulling the old college professor like, oh, you can read more in your textbook, He's giving you that. But is it okay if I get to Amin's comment and then space piece?
Yeah.
Amin the Dream tuning back in. Amin, I appreciate you. Hi, Josh and Mike. Hope both of you are doing well. sorry came in late. Was wondering who Mike wants as a head coach now that they have their new GM. Maybe Liam Cohen, both Tampa Bay guys. But who do you want?
Yeah, I'm assuming he came in right after we were talking a bit about it, but right now the obvious top candidate to me is Pete Carroll. Just for the sense of, I think he would build the best culture immediately for this team, a franchise that desperately needs that, in my opinion, and has lacked that. Like, you could say that the closest guy to doing that was John Gruden, and eh, you know, I wasn't too impressed with the culture that he set. So I think Pete Carroll would come in and actually develop a culture, a winning culture, um, and some consistency for this team. And I think what's nice about Spytek being 44 years old is that, if Pete Carroll coaches for 5 years and then retires, Spytek could be like the Saints' Mickey Loomis or the Ravens' Ozzie Newsome or whoever the GM is for the Chiefs. I don't know his name. But, those guys that are GMs for like north of 10, 20 years for a franchise, like that's what I want John Spytek to be. And you can bring in Pete Carroll to develop the culture, and he'll have an everlasting impact on the franchise because a guy like Spytek sticks around and instills that culture and keeps it going and looks for that in his next coach. So,
Yeah.
but as far as like proven winner, past experience, everything, like Super Bowl pedigree, winning pedigree, 10 out of 14 seasons as the Seahawks coach in the playoffs. That's what I want out of my coach. So I'd be ecstatic if it were Pete Carroll.
Yeah, for me, great head coaches in the NFL don't grow on trees, especially ones that are able to win Super Bowls. Pete Carroll has proven that he can win a Super Bowl. And I really feel like the AFC West is an arms race right now of like head coach and quarterback, but especially head coach because they have three of the best.
Yeah.
Three of like the top 7 head coaches in the NFL are in the AFC West. So if you add Pete Carroll into that mix, Pete Carroll is the perfect way to rival Jim Harbaugh and his addition to the Chargers. I feel like Pete Carroll, you could argue, is like the anti-Sean Payton. Well, really more the anti-Harbaugh, but still, like, if Sean Payton is a great offensive mind, Pete Carroll is absolutely a great defensive mind. Same thing with Andy Reid. If Andy Reid is a great offensive mind, Pete Carroll would know how to attack that offensive, game plan. And then Pete Carroll, like we said, has been building programs, has all this experience. I think that he could find somebody to run an adequate offense and, at least build a competitive football team and establish a culture for the Raiders.
Yep.
So, yeah, my guy for the Raiders is Pete Carroll, and he's also my guy for the 49ers defensive coordinator position. I'd say he and Robert Saleh are at the top of the pecking order, and if Brandon Staley ends up becoming the defensive coordinator and Nick Sorensen is the special teams coordinator, I am going to vomit on my eyeballs while I lay down. Space Beast says, Liam re-signed with Tampa, will probably take over head coach before the season ends.
If they struggle, that's possible. I think now that they signed him to what they signed him to, yeah, it makes sense that if for whatever reason, like there were people talking about because of the way the Buccaneers lost the playoffs, which was a close game, but there were like people in Tampa Bay saying like they should let go of Todd Bowles. And I could totally see Liam Cohen becoming the successor with them. But they got a good thing going with Baker Mayfield and company on that offense. So, it makes sense that he stayed there. And I really think what might have – okay. I put that tweet from Rick Stroud about Spytek, and then I think at the end he started talking about, like, them keeping Liam Cohen and, going in depth on that. And somebody in the front office, I think, was like, we have to keep him. Like, we can't let him go. And, they ended up getting it done. But I think part of that too was Trent Baalke with the fucking Jags, and I think that's why Ben Johnson didn't even consider the Jags, is because of Trent Baalke. And it's funny that Liam Cohen turns down the Jags, says, "Nah, I'm pulling myself out. I'm going back." With I don't know if I call it extension, but a pay raise with the Bucks, and then the Jags finally fired Trent Baalke. If there isn't a more obvious reaction to something happening, that was obvious, So I don't know what the inside story is there, other than it's clear that coaching candidates said, "Nah, I'm good," from the Jags because of who their GM was. That in alone makes me feel better that the Raiders let go of Telesco when they did, And yet we're still on the same page as the Jags as far as, do we have a coach? No. But we have a GM and the Jags don't, So, and that's not to say that coaches would have felt the same way about Telesco as they would have with Baalke. Like Baalke's just screaming, "I'm going to get you fired within 2 years,"
Dude, the move that he made this past offseason that was bad was giving Eric Armstead all that money. I think that was a bad move. And not only that, it's like, he did, I think he was the one who drafted Eric Armstead, and it was like, yeah, you know what?
Right.
Eric Armstead was injured this past season, and the 49ers want him to take a pay cut and are deciding that, they're going to cut him. Oh, we'll take him. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's not just Eric Armstead. It's the underperforming football team year in and year out. It's Trevor Lawrence not being, not taking that next step. They drafted well with Brian Thomas Jr., but outside of that, I really couldn't tell you what exactly they added,
Let me I want to send you one more tweet. I'm so sorry. But just on the topic, with Tom Telesco and like the Raiders salary cap relative to like you talking about the Jags moves. Let's see. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm just gonna keep going. Sorry. Come on. Damn. All right, I'll send you this one for now while I'm looking for it. But I found this account today when I was looking at the comments for the I don't know if I think it was the Spytek hire, and this account commented like the Raiders' current cap situation. Actually, I'll send you this one for the Jets, just as an example. So on the Twitter, can you pull up the most recent one that I sent you?
Most recent? Gotcha.
Yep.
Got it.
So maybe scroll up a little bit. I don't know if you can. Yeah. So in response to Adam Schefter's tweet about the Jets hiring Aaron Glenn, Capology Department tweets, the Jets are 20th in projected cap space at around $20 million. Their biggest two cap hits are Adams and Rodgers. They also have the 7th overall pick, yada, yada. And it's just that it's a top 10 cap hits for this team, right? And then I'll send you the one right now for the Raiders. But part of the reason why I wanted you to show that is because of how huge Devontae Adams' cap hit is. And I want to say it's not guaranteed, which makes a lot of sense for them to not keep him. Not that really matters for the Raiders. But, here's this one in response to Adam Schefter's tweet about Spytek. The Raiders rank second in projected cap space with over $92 million in 2025. Christian Wilkins, Max Crosby, and Colton Miller are their top 3 biggest cap hits. The reason I say this is because the top cap hit for the team is Christian Wilkins, and the 5th highest cap hit is Gardner Minshew, 2 guys that Telesco brought in. And Wilkins was playing good. I think if Crosby is healthy, Malcolm Kuntz is healthy, I think Wilkins plays better. I'm not upset at all about the Christian Wilkins signing. We have the 2nd most cap space in the league. I'd rather have Christian Wilkins than not have him. But, it is interesting that our highest cap hit is this guy, Christian Wilkins, who we don't fully know yet. We know him, but, we didn't get a full season out of him. And the number 5
I think
is
he's really good. He just got injured.
Yeah, no, I agree. I have no problem with it. It's just like in relation to like what you said about Eric Armstead, it's like Telesco did the same thing, but a far bigger cap hit. And I think the reason why, and I was probably saying last year, is like we were projected to have a lot of cap space, so we could afford that. As far as mortgaging and budgeting, it's fine. It's no problem.
Yeah, but Christian Wilkins was like one of the best defensive tackles in the NFL, and then Eric Armstead was like really good in 2019.
Yeah. Pull up the third tweet, like going up. I should have said, with Chris Jones, yeah. So Christian Wilkins is the second highest paid interior lineman on the defense right now in the league. And if you scroll down a little bit, there should be more. So you got Wilkins, obviously Chris Jones, Wilkins, Leonard Williams, DeForest Buckner, Deron Payne, Draymond Jones. Wow, the Seahawks, dude. Holy shit. Dexter Lawrence, who arguably plays like the best defensive tackle in the league. Jeffrey Simmons, another guy playing like one of the best defensive tackles in the league. Jonathan Allen, and then Vita Vea. I have no problem with it. I think they had to overpay a little bit to get him, right? To get him to come here. I really have no problem with it. It's just I'm going to need more from him moving forward.
Vita Vea might be like the best bang for your buck here.
Yeah. Him and I'd say Jeffrey Simmons and Dexter Lawrence. On two teams that are struggling,
like
but
though.
Of course.
Man,
so
the difference of like $4.5 million.
Yeah, man. I mean, at least you're not seeing what's his face from the Niners on this list. Although I want to say he's close. Wasn't it like $20 million per year?
Yeah. Well, they're probably going to release him. You're talking about Javon Hargrave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, I just thought that was interesting. Some of this account that kind of really specifies on cap hits. I thought that was cool. I found that today. Anyways.
Are we ready to, talk about the divisional round?
Yes, we are.
All right, Mike. That was a crazy divisional weekend, for a couple of reasons. There was a couple upsets and really one massive upset, and then there was the big game that happened, the final game. But we'll start at the Texans at Chiefs. We both said the Chiefs were going to win, and man, I am so glad that I did not watch more of this game because it was referee bullshit.
Yeah, it was really bad refereeing, and granted, it was a great game up until about maybe the mid-third quarter. Once the Chiefs kind of broke away, and then shit started happening, and it was just like, yeah, this is about what I expected, dude. See, okay, I didn't expect the Texans to beat the Chiefs, so just like, I expect them to go to the AFC Championship.
Yeah.
But now that it's AFC Championship time and it's like, all right, do or die, you're going to the Super Bowl, you're going home. I better not see the referees fuck this game up against the Bills. If the referees squeeze the Chiefs into the playoffs or in the Super Bowl, I don't know, man. It's just year after year, but this would just be the one where it's just like, all right. Like, even like Troy Aikman is just like, just scoffing and just talking shit about the refs,
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't happen. Like, it's obviously a fucking problem. And announcers know it, fans know it, insiders know it, fucking media members know it, everybody knows it. And the worst part is, like, somebody brought it up, like, actually, it was Colin Cowherd was talking to Tom Brady, I think, on the Cowherd Show about Mahomes. I think maybe it was a completely different show, but about Mahomes strategically running out of bounds, and right as he gets close to getting out of bounds, he slows up. Then he gets pushed, and then what does he do? He fucking falls over and flops like a fish.
Yep.
Because he knows. And luckily, the referees realized what he was doing. They didn't throw a flag on that play. But it's like a couple plays later, you had the double Texans helmets hitting each other, and it sounds like they went head-to-head on Mahomes, but replay shows they didn't, right?
Yep.
But what do you expect? They throw the flag. It's just
He slid super late, dude. I don't.
he knows how to play it, and you know what? I don't know. It just like there was one point from like Taylor Lewan. I was listening to Bussin' with the Boys, and he was saying like, you know what? I don't have a massive problem with it because I forget how he put it, but like winners know how to work the rules and all that stuff. Like something to that extent. And I was like, I understand that, but like it's one thing to like, Mahomes slowing up before he gets out of bounds and then flopping. It's another thing when it's just like they're not even trying and referees throw flags. They're not even trying to get a flag. Or like I think the first or second Texans drive, there was an obvious hip drop tackle. Hip drop tackle. Say that 3 times fast. By a Chiefs defender on Dalton Schultz. No flag. Dalton Schultz up like, what the fuck? Nothing. But if that were Pat Mahomes, it's hip drop tackle, unnecessary roughness, roughing the passer. You're knocked out of the game, and there's a hitman, pointing a gun at your wife.
Yeah. I was also like, and we're going to murder your family. Like something like that, But I don't know, man. It's just, I almost want to just not accept Mahomes as the greatest that I've ever seen because of this shit,
Right.
Like
that's the thing. Somebody was continue.
Like, I don't know, dude. The Patriots, when they were good, also got help by the refs at the most opportune times, but it was never this. It was never this blatant. It was like there was the what is it, the tuck rule. There was so many, I guess, different moments, but it wasn't like Nick Bosa getting held on 3rd down and it's a long play and the Chiefs get bailed out and they win this their first Super Bowl. It wasn't
It really felt like the Patriots mostly always earned it. Like there wasn't a fuckload of referee help.
I mean, they cheated, but it wasn't like the refs spoon feeding him.
Yes, the Patriots did their Patriot things, and I was reading something, or maybe I was listening, I forget, but somebody brought up a point of like, for one thing, fans don't like dynasties, at least not in the NFL. Because once teams start winning too much, it's just like, get this shit out of here. Like somebody beat these, evil bastards, It was the Patriots before. It's like, please don't let them win. They were the bad guys. And then now it's the Chiefs. The difference between these two teams, the fucking Patriots, like you said, they cheated. They straight up cheated. And we were just like, oh, they're clearly the bad guys. But they were never annoying. That's the difference. It wasn't fucking Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift. It wasn't Jackson Mahomes.
Yeah.
It wasn't Brittany Mahomes. I think I want to say her name's Brittany. It wasn't that shit. It was just, man, Brady is just too good, too efficient. Belichick's too smart. They might cheat a little bit, or at least they have. And, their team is always great. Their team always gets it done. Whereas the Chiefs, it's all those things and replace cheating with referees helping them. And on top of that is the annoying shit. That's what it is.
Like I have to say too, the Patriots were always miserable to watch, dude. Like I think that's part of the reason why we hated them so much was because they were winning all the time and they were so boring to watch, or at least like the later years. You know what I mean? I'm sure 2007 with Randy Moss, that was awesome. See, but the Chiefs right now are starting to become like the these games aren't necessarily that fun to watch. It's like they're playing the slow, like, all right, we're gonna strategically play the clock. We're not just gonna outscore the opponent. It's like we're gonna work down the clock and score in opportune times, and And if we keep it close at the end, we're most likely going to win because we're going to get bailed out with the fucking calls. But
that or our defense is going to get it done and we're just going to outscore them one way or another, or if Mahomes has the ball at the end of the game, we'll win, But like one thing to your point is like, okay, Brady to Randy Moss, Mahomes to Tyreek Hill, right? And then you take away those receivers and the offense completely changes, and yet they stay just as good. I mean, the Patriots arguably got better in a way because they won more Super Bowls, but they got more boring. And the reason why is because their quarterbacks are so good and so smart that even without that top tier best receiver in football option, just give them the opportunity and they will get it done. Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league right now at just taking what the defense gives them. That's why they're winning. Mm-hmm. Because if you're playing zone against Travis Kelce, he's going to find the opening. He has DeAndre Hopkins on one side. He's got the rookie on the other side. Somebody's going to be open on a 5-yard slant or a little dig or whatever you want to call it, right? Crosser. Somebody's going to be open. Or even the running back, in the flat, whatever. Somebody's going to be open. He's just going to dink it off to him. It doesn't matter. Easy 7 yards. And then when he can't throw it to anybody, he's going to get out of the pocket and he's going to get 7 yards running. And he might get a flag along the way. It's boring. It is so boring, but it's so efficient.
And the defenders can't do crap, dude. All right, they can't tackle a certain way. They can't hit high. They can't hit low. They can't hit a defenseless receiver. They can't hit a defenseless quarterback who's sliding last second. Oh, I guess you just had to stop your full 100% momentum in midair, as you're tackling a guy who doesn't go down until the very last second. Somebody just needs to. All right, Brady did get hit in his career. There was one time he was running to the outside and he got his helmet like completely popped off his head.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to just. All right, I know that the FBI is going to come to your house and they're going to assassinate your family, but just take one for the team, okay? Just give Mahomes one good pop, man. Just so he can cut that shit out. Please.
I think that's part of the reason why the Raiders won on Christmas 2 years ago or a year ago. Because they did that.
Who's going to be the Luigi of the NFL? Mahomes is the CEO, right? Who's going to be the Luigi of the NFL?
I need it to be.
And I'm not advocating for anybody to murder Mahomes. That's not what I'm saying. But just hit him. I know you can't, but if you're going to get flagged anyway, make it worth it.
Yeah. Well, at that point, you're going to get
tossed.
But hey, send in the 5th string linebacker. Hey, buddy.
Hey, man, you just might get ejected anyway. You just might get ejected whether you do or not. Yeah, you'll get fined, but you know what? The owner will fucking pay for it and probably give you a little bonus on the side. Hey, man, Mahomes got knocked out of the game. We won.
Yeah, but then we have to remember what happened. We have to remember what happened to what's-his-face from the Saints back when they were on the run. The coach. The defensive coordinator. He was revealed to have been, paying players to target, That shit's still wild. But yeah, literally they were targeting people, dude. Like Brett Favre you could tell that NFC Championship game against the Vikings, Brett Favre was getting leveled. They were just doing anything they could to hit that dude as hard as possible. So
yeah, now Brett Favre's got like silly putty as his brain now, It's poor Brett Favre, dude. Not poor Brett Favre. He did allegedly some things that were not good, but after he retired, I think he was at his granddaughter's softball game or something like that, or at a family member's softball game, and they asked him what stood out to him. He said he didn't remember the game.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all that being said, How about the Commanders?
Oh, man. The Commanders? All right. Here's the thing. I said that the Lions were a team of destiny, right?
Yep.
I said, I think the Washington Commanders magic is going to end. It kept going. I mean, I guess magic trumps, or I guess supersedes. Magic supersedes destiny, man. Because Jaden Daniels played fantastic. He's been fantastic all season, and he might be the next man up,
Yeah, I think I feel really good. Before this weekend, last week on our podcast, we were talking about Justin Herbert. I'm going to bring it up even though I didn't really feel like it. And you were asking me to name the guys that are ahead of Justin Herbert, and I was like, Jaden Daniels. Like, okay. I said this. I said the first guy that comes to mind is Jalen Hurts. And I actually didn't stick with that. Like, I just said that as like, for some reason, that's the first guy that comes to my mind when asked a question like this. It's like, well, Jalen Hurts. But I didn't mean it like Jalen Hurts is better than Herbert. He's not. Okay. Like, when I ended up with my final list, or whatever you want to call it, Jalen Hurts was not in consideration. It was Stafford, Jaden Daniels, and Jared Goff was like mixed right there with Herbert. So I ended up with Herbert as like the 7th highest quarterback. But in my opinion, Jaden Daniels is already, before this game, the 5th best quarterback in the league. And I think this game solidified it. And this guy, some people don't take him seriously, but like Jeff Saturday. I saw that Jeff Saturday was saying, yeah, he's the 5th best quarterback in the league just a couple days ago. And I'm like, tell me who you could possibly say is better. Like, from what we've seen. No. Yeah. Other than the top 4 obvious candidates, there's no way. There's nobody else. Jaden Daniels. Okay. I heard a stat that just was awesome. There have been 3 rookie quarterbacks to have, I think it's a game with no punts and no interceptions in a game that they won, or something like that. 3 times that a rookie quarterback has led his offense to no punts and no interceptions in the game. Can you name those 3 rookie quarterbacks?
Patrick, or guess no, them. not Mahomes. Can't be. Joe Montana.
Okay.
Is that one?
I'll tell you.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be because. Well, I can't name the 3. I can't name.
Okay. It's Jaden Daniels. Okay. Jaden Daniels and Jaden Daniels.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you for that input.
He's the only guy.
Like an idiot.
No, I mean it's a trick question, but it's like he's that good. Like, what he has done this season is that good.
I think he has more games in his career with 0 punts and 0 turnover. You said 0 punts, 0 turnovers?
It's either turnovers or interceptions, something like that.
Okay. 0 punts. He has more games than, I think, Tom Brady, Mahomes. I did see like a stat like that. Let me pull it up. Let me see if I can pull it up and I'll share it. But Jaden Daniels 0 punt stat. Okay. Let me open image in a new tab. All right. Check this out. This is what I was talking about.
Yeah.
1 second. Jaden Daniels has more career games with 0 punts and 0 turnovers than Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Peyton Manning, and Patrick Mahomes combined.
Wow. I mean, that's even on top. Like, oh my God.
How? He's a rookie.
Insane. Yeah.
With if this is like somebody trolling, I feel like it is probably a real stat because I mean, I don't know. Like,
I mean, he put his name on it, Doug Clawson. So that's insane.
yep.
That doesn't make sense.
That doesn't feel real.
Yeah,
Is
that doesn't feel possible. But I think what it is the punts and turnovers aspect. Like that means that every single drive the Commanders scored, or career games 0 punts, or somebody else on the offense fumbled. That's the only other option.
Yep.
So but that's just it's insane what he's doing. It's incredible. Yeah, this dude. I mean, they can win the Super. Like I'm not a Washington fan. It hasn't computed. Like I thought of it like the other day. I was driving. I was like, "Fuck, man! Like Washington's really in this," but it still hasn't fully hit me yet. But like right there, like that doing like Washington could win the Super Bowl in like year 1 or 2 after getting rid of Dan Schneider. Year 1 of Jaden Daniels. Year 1 of Dan Quinn, and the GM from the Niners, Adam Peters.
Look, dude, if they win the Super Bowl this year, just let them change the name back. Okay, let them do what they want.
Well, honestly, at that point, you have to keep the name. Like that's good luck.
True. Yeah,
you know, that's a good vibe. But man, I mean, and frankly, I mean, spoiler. Well, it's not a spoiler. I'm not going to give you my pick, but I'll tell you what, I'm rooting for him. I'm rooting for him this weekend.
Yeah,
but I don't like the idea, which I'm just hoping the Bills fucking win. But I don't like the idea of a rookie quarterback going up against Spags and Mahomes and Andy Reid in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
I don't like that. But then again, like, I'd rather see Jaden Daniels up against them than Jalen Hurts, if I'm being honest.
I feel like that team as a whole, though, would have a better chance against Mahomes than like you said, throwing
than Washington.
I mean, but Jaden Daniels is so good, though. You know,
Jaden Daniels is so good and efficient. But you're right. The Eagles' defense and their the trenches and Saquon. That's the difference.
Dude, I have to say though, like, since we do talk about the Raiders, I've seen way too many people talk about, Tom Telesco and Antonio Pierce really messed up not moving up for Jaden Daniels. I'm sorry. Was Washington calling teams saying, hey, we'd like to move down? No,
right.
There's no chance they would have traded. They know, like, all right, the Raiders did not have an opportunity to. I'm convinced.
Yeah. At least they had the right idea. And they wanted Cliff Kingsbury.
Yep.
Like it's funny that they tried to do what Washington did. They tried to do it. And look at what Washington ended up being. Like, not to say that the Raiders have been the championship. Fuck no. Not with the coordinator they had. I mean, if it was Cliff Kingsbury, maybe, I guess, and with Jaden Daniels, but maybe at that point Devontae stays, so I guess you switch Brock Bowers for Devontae, but still, do our defensive guys still get hurt? How good is the defense? Yada yada yada. A lot of what ifs, but I thought of that too, of like, well, man, I mean, although they couldn't get it to ever happen, at least AP and Telesco had the right idea. Like, that's good, but it doesn't mean anything,
Mm-hmm.
It just sucks that we didn't have the opportunity to get Jaden Daniels because, I mean, you knew a year ago I would have killed to get Jaden Daniels.
And that's what happens when you win stupid games that don't matter. That's exactly what happens. You know what Washington didn't do? Washington didn't win games that didn't matter. And now they're set up for as long as Jaden Daniels, is playing at this level, and as long as, knock on wood, as long as he's healthy.
Yeah.
They're set up.
Jaden Daniels, I'm just glad Jaden Daniels doesn't play for the Broncos.
Yeah.
And Bo Nix is a stud too, though. That's what sucks. But, Jaden Daniels is different, clearly. And, they beat the Lions. And I think the other aspect to that Commanders-Lions game is, how Jared Goff played in that game. Somewhat similar to Herbert. the previous weekend of just, the game started getting out of hand because the Commanders outscored them. And then it was, all right, Jared, we need you to perform. And what did he do? He just shat his pants. Just completely shat down his leg. He was wearing the white pants, and it was all brown by the end of the game.
Yeah, dude. I tried to tell you, Jared Goff is still Jared Goff. Like he's still him. But the thing is he's playing better because he has a better play caller now. I prefer Ben Johnson's style of offense over Sean McVay's. No offense to that scheme, but I just prefer the creativity and just getting it to everybody. But Jared Goff has a supporting cast, and not to like reignite the Herbert versus Goff thing, which I think you're on my side now after seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I sent a text. I was on the fence already with Goff versus Herbert. Like, I think what I said, on the pod, if I didn't say it on the pod, I definitely said in our group chat, was like, I ended up sending top 15 rankings of quarterbacks or whatever to the group chat. And I had it 5 Jaden Daniels, 6 Matthew Stafford, 7 Justin Herbert, 8 Jared Goff.
And I can live with that. I can live with
that. Yeah, and then like 9 was like, I might have I want to say it might have been Baker, and I think 10 might have been fucking Bo Nix. But I could be off on that. I'd have to go back and look. But what's to say? But what I said was, when I imagine I was really having a hard time with Herbert and Goff, because it's like, all right, previous, statistical and just like visual evidence and potential. And obviously Herbert has the higher potential. But then I asked myself, well, who would I rather have on a game-winning drive? Like, who would I rather depend on? It's Herbert.
It's Herbert.
So that was the difference for me. And then this game kind of proved that, So I think what helps Goff is that because of their run game and because of everything about that offense, they're usually in the lead. So he doesn't have to be depended on to force throws and quickly get back in the game. They're always winning the game. So it's just like, I'm just going to throw it to Amon-Ra. Yeah, we're going to do a reverse pass right here with what's his face throwing the ball. Jameson Williams. That was a bad play call. That was not out of character, but not the right time for that. I think you should do that play when you're up, not down. But Ben Johnson.
Yep, Bears legend. Yeah, let's see.
Commanders win.
Commanders won that game because they just could not stop scoring. And all right, I wanted to talk about this too because for whatever reason in 49ers Twitter land, every single meltdown of a quarterback in the playoffs has meant, oh, this just shows why Brock Purdy is better. And I'm just like, when did Brock Purdy play this weekend?
Yeah.
Like, oh, this just proves why Brock Purdy's worth $60 million. I'm sorry. Like, all right, I do think the Niners will pay Purdy. We'll talk. We'll have a full-on topic about this, in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I do think probably the right move is to pay Purdy, but we'll talk about it then. But I don't see how these quarterbacks having bad games means that Brock Purdy, you know what? We were too hard on him. He's better than he is. He didn't play. We didn't learn anything about Brock. We just, these quarterbacks had bad games.
Yeah, I mean,
and a lot of quarterbacks had bad games, over the past 2 weeks.
So, I mean, Lamar had he didn't have the best game, that's for sure. We'll get there, but
yeah, we'll get there.
But yeah, to your point, yeah.
Let's go ahead and talk about Rams versus Eagles. I knew all along, Mike. Knew all along.
Well, that game almost. Did you watch the end of that game?
I So that was Sunday, right? I was out running errands with Pia, so I was watching on my phone, and I
Mhm.
remember, okay, it was like a two score game, and there were like 4 minutes left, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is over. And then
Mhm.
all of a sudden, dude, the Rams get the ball. They're
March
down
down
by
the field.
less than a touchdown, and I'm like, hold on,
Yeah,
wait
and
a
they were down
second.
6. I think they were down
Yep.
6 because okay, Saquon got the 73-yard touchdown with like 5.5 minutes left. Put them up 13, extra point. They missed the extra point. So they're up 13, 5.5 minutes. It's like this game's still over. 2 possessions, 5.5 minutes. There's no way the Rams can do this. Well, here's the thing. And Chris Collinsworth was on the call, and he pointed out pretty quickly on that next drive by the Rams. The Rams went no huddle, no shit, and it was killing the Eagles defense. They had no response. That hurry up, they could not respond to it. Stafford was just dialed in. Fucking doink, doink, doink. All of a sudden, within 4 plays, they're on like the 10-yard line. It was like, dude, there's still 3.5 minutes left in this game. Maybe 2.5, whatever it was. And they had their timeouts. And they get the touchdown, and you could just see it in Sean McVay's face. I was like, they are not out of this, dude. And then the Eagles get the ball, and I'm just thinking, like, I mean, this is where the Eagles just put it away. Just run Saquon 3 times. They run him the first play, like 2-yard gain. Just, the Rams stuffed him. Second play, fucking Sirianni calls a rollout for Jalen Hurts, who injured his knee earlier in this game. And he gets sacked. So now it's 3rd and like 12, 3rd and 15. On the drive that if you just get a first down, the game is over. And then they run a draw with Saquon to force, another timeout by the Rams, I think. And I think it was a draw. And obviously he gets tackled after like 7 yards. They punt. 2.5 minutes left in the game. Maybe it hit the 2-minute warning. I don't know. And I was just like, I hope, not just because I picked the Rams, but because of the Eagles fans last week against the Packers, but also just because the Eagles fucked up. Like, they fucked up. And I was like, I want the Rams to win so bad here. They get the ball. They no huddle. They just march. Dart, dart, dart. I was like, dude, we're going to do it. Oh, my God, this is great. Like, it was a great game. And then all of a sudden, oh, that's what it was. It was like 2 plays, 2-minute warning. And then once they got out of the 2-minute warning, the Eagles defense just fucking woke up. And there was like deflection. They might have got another first down. And then, they were on like the 30 and Stafford couldn't get the first down. 4th down, he throws it out of bounds. I think maybe Puka broke off the route a little too late or something and they couldn't get it done. I was just like, oh, like it would have been so much better if they could have scored. It would have been so much more fun. But of course they didn't. But point being, I chose the Rams. I called my shot. And I was just sitting there like, when I literally texted group chat ball game when Saquon ran the 73-yard touchdown, I was like, there's no chance. And then they no-huddled the shit out of it. And I was like, this is why Stafford is Stafford and Sean McVay is Sean McVay. Like, you cannot count these motherfuckers out. As long as those guys are on the Rams, you cannot count that team out. They started the season like 1-4. You cannot count them out. They almost went to the NFC Championship. So, I mean, kudos to them. Yeah. In the snow, completely out of their element. They almost did it.
Yeah. One thing I want to add to that, there was a play that stood out to me that my cousin Daniel sent me. Shout out to my cousin Daniel, who does tune in and watch the podcast sometimes. He sent this play. It was like a little bit of a breakdown. It was for one of Saquon's touchdowns, but the Rams had 2 bigs on one side, so they went with like a boss front. They had bigs on the same side is what boss means.
Oh.
They had 2 bigs on one side, and then they had a linebacker and I want to say an edge rusher lined up on the other side, right? And so Jalen Hurts sees this and literally flips the play. he like flips Saquon to the other side and, changes the play in order to run on the side of the linebacker and the defensive end. Yeah. And that play went for a touchdown. And I'm just like, man, that's why I get annoyed as shit when Kyle Shanahan doesn't let Brock Purdy change the play. Because you need to be able to adjust on the fly, give your quarterback freedom. That drives me insane. It's like, all right, there's 2 plays. It's like, okay, you're not going to what the defense is going to show you. You know exactly what they're going to show you. There's not a chance that they could line up differently, do stunts. It's small things like that. Man. God,
that's
ridiculous. Pisses me off.
That's ridiculous. I remember it took a little bit. Maybe as a rookie, Derek Carr started, pre-snap, making adjustments and such. But I know with Gruden, that was a big emphasis. Regardless, though, like if your quarterback isn't doing that, like that doesn't feel like your offense is at its full potential. Like I understand it's like, okay, we can have our center call out shit, but like it should be both of them. It should be the center calling out like blocking assignments and the quarterback reading the defense and like, all right, that's what I see. All right, yeah, we're good here. Or audible, we're gonna run or whatever. That's what it should be.
I disagree with one part. The center calling protections or calling the blocking scheme. I think the quarterback should have. The quarterback should be the architect of the offense, and he has the better view of everybody because theoretically the linemen are down in their stance, and the quarterback is able to see everybody. He's able to see where the linebacker is, and then that way. The quarterback's already, paying attention to the routes and everything. He will know exactly what protection that he is setting. And this is why, the center is down low, can't see everything, because he's either got one nose tackle right in his face, or he's got 2 defensive tackles on 2 sides of him. So, his vision isn't necessarily ideal for somebody that you want to be calling protections for your quarterback. And that's why I think that Kyle Shanahan always gets his quarterbacks hurt. It's because, all right, the center didn't call the right protection, and then we've got a free rusher. And then, the quarterback gets hit a lot in Shanahan offenses, and they're injured a lot. They talk about, well, Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't stay healthy. The reason why they drafted Trey Lance is because Jimmy Garoppolo, the best ability is availability. Then Trey Lance gets in there. He can't stay healthy. Then Brock Purdy tears his UCL because they blocked Hassan Reddick, the best one of the best pass rushers in the NFC Championship game with the 3rd string tight end. And then in the Super Bowl, you can't hit Juwan Jennings. You can't hit a wide open Brandon Ayuk because you've got Chris Jones right in your face because he goes completely untouched in the middle. That is if the quarterback knows the way that that the players are going to be blocking on a given play, because he sets it and he's like, all right, you know what? I know that this is going to be blocked this way because I set it up that way. I think that is more ideal.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
I'm sorry to my fellow Niner fans who are watching right now if I'm, upsetting you guys, when it's like, hey man, I'm just trying to hear this divisional round recap. I didn't want to be pissed off right now because,
more Shanahanisms. I just meant like having the center do it isn't like the worst thing in the world, but like, yes, I'd much prefer my quarterback to just be dialed in doing all of that. Cause like you said, he has the vantage point.
Peyton Manning did it. All the great quarterbacks, the great quarterbacks did it.
Yeah. And then to your point about Hassan Reddick, hurting Purdy with the UCL in the championship. A little bit backtracking here, but the Texans-Chiefs game, I don't know how many fucking plays I saw Dalton Schultz blocking, I believe his name is George Karlaftis. Stud edge defender for the Chiefs. Why is your tight end one-on-one with a guy who is coming off the edge and is great at making plays. He made multiple tackles for loss, multiple sacks, it felt like, in that game.
Well, let me ask you, who's the offensive coordinator?
Bobby Slowick.
And where does Bobby Slowick come from?
Shanahan. There you go. Yeah.
That's the answer.
Yeah.
Oh, God. It's really genius. Like, oh, God, like X's and O's, it makes sense. But know the players. Know who the players are. You don't. All right. Maybe that works with George Kittle, but it doesn't work with freaking Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, no.
It's God, dude. It pisses me off. It pisses me off, really. But you know what doesn't?
Seeing that against the Chiefs, it's just like, dude, come on, be smarter. You should be playing up to the Chiefs, not playing stupid.
You know what doesn't piss me off? Seeing some day ones in the chat. Joel is in the chat, says salute, throws up a couple Raider flags. Anthony, it's been a while, man.
There he is.
Anthony tuning back in. Anthony's pissed off too. Anthony's got a lot of comments. Yeah, he's got a lot of Raider comments. We're gonna be getting to Anthony's Raider comments in just a second here. Let's finish up the recap and then we'll get to the bread and butter of why Anthony's pissed off. I'm pissed off for a different reason, and it's like, you know what? Maybe I just woke up with an attitude today. But let's see. The final game that we have to recap, for the divisional round is Ravens at Bills. And really I was kind of torn in between who I was going to pick, but I felt like the Ravens had the team for it. And really
they should have won this. I think you can argue they should have won this game.
They very well won this game.
If you just didn't have the turnovers that they did, the Lamar fumble and the Andrews fumble, that killed them. And that's the same for the Lions. Like, what I noticed in these games, the teams that won were not mistake-free, but turnover-free. And the teams that lost were the teams that lost the turnover battle. So the Ravens fumbling the game away, the Lions with Goff throwing interceptions, the Texans punting the shit out of the ball in the second half. That's why they lost, right? But yeah, it's, to me, that game, this Ravens-Bills game, it was a great game. I think the most glaring thing to me with this game, and it's happened here and there for the Bills this season, but this game was the most interesting to me just because it was such a huge game. And this was part of the reason why I said the Bills might secretly be the best team in football. Let me look at the stats. I want to say Josh Allen didn't have 200 yards passing in this game, which doesn't sound right. That doesn't sound possible in a Bills win against the Ravens.
Here, let's see. Ravens versus Bills. Hold on. All right. Player stats. Josh Allen, 127 passing yards. No passing touchdowns.
Yeah.
He had 2 rushing touchdowns, though.
2 rushing touchdowns, 10 carries for 20 yards. How in the hell do you win off of that? The only explanation to me is mistake-free football. Turnover-free football. That's what they did. And benefiting from the Ravens turning over the ball. James Cook, 67 yards on 17 attempts. That's not even that impressive.
Yep.
Khalil Shakir, 6 receptions, 67 yards. Okay. But, the rest of the receivers, no more than 15 yards. It's just efficiency. Actually, if I scroll down Gamecast, I'm on the ESPN app. If I had to guess, barely. I was going to say maybe the Bills, owned the time of possession. It was 31:44 to 28-16. Almost 50-50. It's just the turnovers. The Bills had 0 turnovers. The Ravens had 3. Total yards. The Ravens had 416. The Bills had 273.
Yeah, that's insane.
That's crazy.
That to me is insane that the Ravens lost this game.
It's just the turnovers.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you're going to beat the Chiefs, one of two things to me has to happen. Either the MVP Josh Allen has to come out and put up numbers, and or you have to be mistake free, and you need to force a turnover or two on the Chiefs. That's how the Bills win.
Mm-hmm.
Not impossible. The Chiefs, in my opinion, have not been like all that impressive this year. It's just that they're efficient and they play well even when it's a close game.
You wanted the Bills to win this game, and I think we were texting. There was a key fourth down moment where the Bills had to decide whether or not to go for it or kick the field goal. And I texted the group chat. I said, you have to kick the field goal right here, because then you kick if you go for it and you don't get it.
Yeah.
You have to believe the Ravens are going down the field and scoring a touchdown.
Yeah, and they would have.
And they
did.
Yeah, they did. They did.
Yeah.
The Bills kicked it. It was an 8-point game. That gives you the cushion of, even if you score the touchdown, they have to get the 2-point conversion to tie it.
Yep.
And then you can take it to overtime. You can take it to overtime, and then overtime rules are different now. Both teams, possess the football. So you have another opportunity. I'm so glad that the Bills came to their senses, or I guess made the right decision, and they decided to kick it. Because, while I thought the Ravens were going to win this game, I wanted the Bills to win. I like Josh Allen. That doesn't mean I don't like Lamar. I just like Josh Allen a little more. But, the Bills, they decide to kick it. The Ravens literally drive down the field like it's nothing.
Yep.
They score a touchdown. 2-point conversion play. Perfect play call. Perfect play call.
Yeah.
Lamar throws it. Mark Andrews bobbles it, drops it. Game over.
Pretty much. I mean, the Bills got the next first down, then it was game over. But what it sounded like on the field was the ball hit Mark Andrews' hands, and then you just heard
with a little, just a little extra.
Just shat down his leg. So that sucks. You don't want to see a game end like that, honestly, and such a good game too. But players are not perfect, and I know Ravens fans are not happy with Mark Andrews, but that dude's done a lot for them. It's unfortunate. It would have been so much better if it was like Rashad Bateman, just like, get this fucking bum out of here. But because it's Mark Andrews, it's just like you have Ravens fans calling him a bum, and it's just like, well, we know he's not a bum, but he did not do good today. He had that big fumble. Like, they were driving, and then he fumbled down on the catch. But actually, I don't even fault him. Like, the linebacker just punched perfectly right at it, He was turning his body around, and then boom, punched it. Just, you don't even see it coming. So
this was a game where, it was just two great teams, and one had to win, and the Bills won.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
All right. I think
comments time or championship time.
I'm feeling comments time.
Okay.
Right? Or do you think we should do championship and then?
Yeah, you know what? Well, let's do the comments. Just in case anybody wants to leave.
Okay. Anthony. Well, nobody should want to leave. We're the best show on YouTube. Fastest growing. We're not really the fastest growing, but we can be with your support. Anthony says, "What the fuck are we doing?" Talking about the Raiders.
The Raiders, okay. Yeah. All right.
We fire AP because we need a better coach. Okay, I get it. But we keep Telesco. Don't fire both at the same time. Okay, we're keeping Telesco. Got us Bowers, Jackson Powers Johnson, Glaze. Glaze is good. Okay. Then hype comes. Raiders are getting Ben Johnson. It's done.
Yeah.
Then the Raiders fired Telesco. Surprising, but you think maybe Ben Johnson wants to bring in his GM.
Mm-hmm.
More hype comes in. Ben Johnson is a lock to go to the Raiders. Raider Nation is chugging the Kool-Aid.
I was one of them.
The motherfucker signs in Chicago.
Yep. This is me on Monday, dude.
Yeah. Then the Raiders hired Tom Brady's drinking buddy, who brought him to Tampa.
Yeah.
For GM.
Yeah.
What the fuck is the plan? I want either Mike McCarthy, Doug Peterson, or potentially Monken. You don't want Mike McCarthy. Doug Peterson didn't work out in Jacksonville, but he's interesting. I think Doug Peterson's interesting, but he's not great.
Oddly, I'd rather have Mike McCarthy than Peterson. But I don't think it's going to happen. Actually, I think Mike McCarthy makes a lot of sense to the Saints. And we haven't talked to McCarthy. But I saw one person mock up, like, theoretically, if you get Pete Carroll as your head coach, imagine Doug Peterson as offensive coordinator. And then, they said Robert Saleh as defense coordinator. We're not going to get Saleh. But, you can get Gus Bradley, somebody who's been with Pete Carroll in the past with the Seahawks, who's out there right now. Ex-Raiders defense coordinator. I don't know how people would feel about that, but that could be realistic, And Gus Bradley's son is currently the third-string quarterback on the team. So, be cool. But, Peterson as head or offensive coordinator, I could see. I'm not really fully feeling him as head coach right now, seeing the way things went with the Jags. But then again, the Jags did have a Trent Baalke problem, and I think they also had an injury problem. But still, like, the Jags offense wasn't all that impressive, Like, they had – ETN was playing great last season, a season ago.
Bigsby was playing good this season a little bit.
Yeah. So maybe it just depends on the personnel. I mean, you have Bowers with us, right? So maybe Peterson could really make it work well. Like, I know Peterson – I want to say Peterson was the one who had Zach Ertz back in the day just, like, balling weekly. He was a fantasy football god for a couple of years. So I could see that really well for Bowers.
Not god, but good.
Yeah. I mean, like, maybe for PPR. Like, he was getting, like, 8 targets plus a game. Anyways.
Doug Peterson won a Super Bowl.
Yes, he did. Yeah. So I wouldn't be opposed to him as offense coordinator for sure, but I don't know how I feel about him coming off the Jags and everything. And same goes for McCarthy, honestly, with the Cowboys. Like, McCarthy is like this lame duck, super boring hire right now, but he's actually, like, probably not a bad fucking hire,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Anthony says, Pete Carroll is the man. Yes, he won in college and the NFL, but the guy is 73 fucking years old. How the fuck is he going to engage / inspire 21 to 24-year-olds coming out of college? Well, I tell you, if he just takes a look at Bill Belichick right now, he's going to find out how a 72-year-old, 73-year-old gets engaged to a 21 to 24-year-old. You're going to find out pretty soon, just exactly how that happens, quite literally.
Yeah,
but
engaged. No, That was a good play on words right there. I like that. I don't know. I think that's the thing with Pete Carroll is I think he's always been good at that, and he's always, at least it feels like he's always been old, and he's always been able to have a good grasp on building a culture and getting guys to play for him, and again, I was reading a lot of his or listening to a lot of his philosophy. And I think players would really buy into it, And I think there's something to be said about like the elder, like an elder kind of giving wisdom, I think NFL players would buy into that. Like, I think that's why I say I'd rather have Pete Carroll than like Joe Brady from the Bills, because I think Brady is super young. It's like, well, would a NFL player buy into a guy who's won a Super Bowl, won multiple national championships, 10 years out of 14 in the playoffs with the Seahawks, would he buy into him and his philosophies, or a first-time head coach who looks like he's around the same age as some of the players on the team? Like, I know I'm going into Pete Carroll. Like, anything he says, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense.
Mhm.
So
My thing too is Pete Carroll acts young. He's not like, all right, boys, today we're gonna line up and today I'm gonna teach you about the lateral. See, the lateral, I remember when they invented the lateral. No, it's not like that. Like, no, dude, he's highly energetic. I think, like, if you see him, he's always pacing up and down the sidelines, just chewing gum. Like,
yeah.
this, have you seen Pete Carroll chew gum? I don't know anybody who hasn't,
Yeah.
But no, all right. Real talk though, I think that he is a good defensive architect and, spearheaded, like, I feel like everybody was trying to run that Seahawks defense, for the next several years afterwards. Like, I still think the 49ers, like, still took some, they took a page out of that because Robert Saleh was on that coaching staff, right? So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Pete Carroll is a great hire to compete, in the AFC West. That's my opinion.
Yep.
I think like maybe it was getting stale in Seattle because that happens from time to time. Look at Mike Tomlin in Pittsburgh. Tomlin's still a great coach. It's just, they're going in circles. And then Pete Carroll started going in circles, and the minute that he wanted to change something, he got off of Russell Wilson, because it just wasn't going anywhere. Geno Smith started playing well. Geno Smith was nobody. Geno Smith was like, oh my God, the Seahawks are going to be the worst team in the league. And then Geno Smith balled out, right? Yeah. And then they're in that situation where, you know what? Geno Smith earned an extension. And now, like, Geno Smith is not like a serious contender quarterback. He's like a solid bridge quarterback. And, the Seahawks just decided we've kind of had enough of going in circles. But that doesn't mean that he can't go somewhere else and be, and contend for Super Bowls, or at least establish a culture. I think that's what the Raiders need.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
Anthony says, how many years can he be with the team health-wise? How do we grow? Talking about Pete Carroll?
I think culture setting is how we grow, and winning, because he's a proven winner. And then, like you said, we have presidents coming in to office on a 4-year plan, essentially, who are 78 years old, and I think Pete Carroll is cognitively more impressive to me than those guys. So,
you just hear Pete Carroll speak and you're like, yeah, you know what? This guy, like, the fact that he's old, like, he carries wisdom with him, Yeah. So,
and I think, the other thing about him is that Pete Carroll's going to have a good coaching staff. I have no doubt about that. The same could be said about like Mike McCarthy and Doug Peterson, but I just think Pete Carroll, he's been in the league so long, he has the connections, right?
Mm-hmm. So, Brandon says, you just watched Lamar fumble over and over. Yeah, it was a bad fumble. It was a bad one.
Yeah. So he was.
They took it for a touchdown, right? Or did they at least set them up like in the red zone?
Yeah.
Anthony says, I respect Pete Carroll, but bro, 73 years old. Yeah, hire him today. He's not getting any younger.
Yeah.
Start now.
That was my thought process when comparing him to Ben Johnson. But now that that's off the table, it's like, to me, there's nobody else that's close to Pete Carroll. And I know I saw a future comment from Anthony that's a great point, which is Mike McCarthy and Doug Peterson have both won a Super Bowl as well. Yeah, but like, nothing they have done recently impresses me, whereas Pete Carroll, it's like they're always in it. The Seahawks have always been in it, And the only time that they weren't was when they kind of needed to reset because of Russell Wilson or, his final year with the Seahawks. That's it. Otherwise, they were in it.
Mm-hmm. I respect Pete Carroll, but hiring an old geezer is uninspiring in my opinion. I think it depends who you talk to.
Yeah, I mean, again, like when comparing him to like Ben Johnson, for me, it was like, man, and just like coming into this process before looking at all the possible candidates, the quintessential idea for me of like, who do we hire is an up and coming offensive coordinator. That was my quintessential idea. But I think things have kind of changed in part because, like we said earlier, Mark Davis probably, and from his past, has proven that he wants to pair, if he's going to have a first-time GM, he wants a coach with history. And all three of these guys count with that, of Mike McCarthy, Doug Peterson, and Pete Carroll, as well as some of the other guys, Steve Spagnuolo, even Vance Joseph or Robert Saleh. They all have experience. The only thing is the guys that they've interviewed of those names are defensive guys. And then the two guys that are offensive are Peterson and McCarthy, who they haven't interviewed yet. So
Joseph says, I don't even know anymore, guys. I won't be into any more hype about anyone coming here.
Yeah, it's hard for me not to get a little hyped up, but I agree. At this point, at this stage, being a fan and seeing the way this shit has gone the past 10 plus years, I mean, for most people dating back to 2003, I was still in probably diapers at that point, but
I would hope not.
I guess probably not. I don't know. Yeah,
you'd be 6 years old. Are you wearing diapers at 6?
No, I guess not. Yeah, I don't know because I don't remember, but I doubt it. So there you go. But maybe the better way to put it was like I might have still been peeing the bed,
Yeah. I think that's Anthony's concern right now is that Pete Carroll might be wearing diapers on the sideline.
There you go. Yeah.
Zach Hollingsworth, huh?
Well, there's a new way to embarrass ourselves. Yeah, so the Raiders are currently on a 13-game losing streak, and the newest news today is that their head coach was caught shitting his pants.
Dude, what? Hey, we haven't seen Pete Carroll in the public eye in a year. Like, what if we see him and he's just really, really old,
He's got face scabs and band-aids like Al Davis at the end.
He's like drooling, hey, he won a Super Bowl and what's wrong with him? Pete Carroll, he's had some health complications over the past year.
Bro, this is not funny. It's really not that funny, but it's like, imagine they hire him. I'm just imagining the visual and it's like, and now introducing your next head coach, Pete Carroll. And they open the fucking doors. It's just it's just him in a fucking wheelchair. Oh shit. Just the visual, just imagining it.
Not from being disabled, but just from being too old. Okay.
Yeah, yes, thank you.
Just in case anybody misconstrued that, but that is your new head coach.
Yeah. Get excited, folks. Fucking rolling in. Oh my god. All Raider fans have the same reaction, just all right. Oh my, oh.
Yeah, we hired Pete Carroll. Here he is.
Yeah.
Hey, champ. How you doing today?
Oh, shit.
Oh, hold on. Zach Hollingsworth says, how far do you think the Raiders are from being competitive?
My answer seems to always be the same of 2 years away. And then 2 years pass, and it's like, yeah, they're 2 years away. But I think the nice thing about Pete Carroll is like he's proven in the past, and like listening to John Spytek on that podcast that I showed earlier, like he was talking about his team with like the Buccaneers. Like when they first signed Baker Mayfield, like I remember I didn't really want Baker Mayfield. I was like, I don't, coming from off like the Panthers and the Rams, I was just like, no, dude, he's a backup at this point. The Buccaneers picked him up during the offseason in which they were just coming off of Brady, and it was like, yeah, we kind of have to like eat all these cap hits from that Super Bowl run, and everybody's thinking like, yeah, they're gonna just kind of tank it. Baker will be a bridge quarterback. They'll draft a guy. What did they do? I could be wrong. They might have went to the playoffs.
I think they won that division, didn't they?
They probably did. So
it wasn't the
because
Falcons.
that probably
it wasn't the Panthers.
They probably right. That's probably what got Baker. Yeah, no, that's probably what got Baker the extension. Anyways, just that's nice to think of, like a guy coming in as RGM having been through something like that. Of like, yeah, like nobody thought we were going to win, but we came in thinking even though we're going to have to eat this cap space, we're still going to make moves to be competitive. And if you compare a guy like that with a guy like Pete Carroll, who 10 out of 14 seasons goes to the playoffs, you never know. If they could just get the right quarterback to carry out a system, an offense, like, are they really that far away? At that point, the question becomes what we were talking about earlier, which is the offensive line, and re-signing guys on defense and signing new guys on defense. Like, if they could get the right things in, the same goes for like the Commanders this year. And the other thing that they were talking about was like Spytek was a big part of the Broncos when they won the Super Bowl run with Peyton Manning. And, like the first year, 2013, they went against the Seahawks and they got shat on by the Seahawks. And that was when the Broncos had like the prolific offense, but the Seahawks defense was what, stood out in that game, right? They shut down the Broncos. And then 2015, that offseason before 2015, the Broncos decided, let's sign a bunch of guys on defense. DeMarcus Ware, a corner, a linebacker, whatever, right? They signed a bunch of guys. Aqib Talib was one of the guys. And, you're expecting the Broncos offense to be prolific because they have Peyton Manning, but what actually was their strength that year was their fucking defense. And they won the Super Bowl. I guess the whole point is just like, I'm not expecting anything. Like a couple comments ago, like I'm not going to get too hyped up and, answer Zach here and say, oh, they can make the playoffs this year. Like, I'm not going to say that with like optimism that they should, but I can say that they can if they have the right coach and they make the right moves. And, the offensive line and the defensive line is better. I think they can, but competitive for a Super Bowl, years. Competitive for the playoffs, it could be this year. I don't know.
I think from being competitive for a Super Bowl, it's whenever they find the quarterback. That's when it is. Can be this year. It can be 20 years from now. But competitive in terms of playoffs, the way that their team is currently constructed, if they had a game manager in there, I think that they would need some work on the offensive line. They would need a running back, another receiver to have Jacoby Myers, if they are able to retain him in free agency, be that complimentary guy, which he already kind of is because Brock Bowers serves as a number one, but you get a guy off of Brock Bowers' back. You get a couple linebackers, like maybe sign Dre Greenlaw, this team, I feel like it's going to be a slower build because of just how tough the AFC is, specifically the AFC West. But I'd say realistically, if they hire Pete Carroll, I would expect this team to make the playoffs within 3 years, or in 3 years.
Yeah, I think what they probably do in part because I think the Buccaneers did this, and that's what helped them get Brady with Spytek. Um, is they built their team up to uh, complement the quarterback, and then they finally got the quarterback in there. For them, it was a free agent and Brady, and it's like, boom, you know. So
Yep.
that's what they should do is just build the roster until they get the opportunity to get the quarterback. And if you can get a free agent like a Sam Darnold or somebody, a game manager in there that can compete, hey, with the right coach and coaching staff and all that shit, you can make the playoff. You can be a wild card team. You can be the 7th seed any given year. But
Seahawks made the playoffs with Geno Smith. You know what I mean? Like sometimes
yeah,
you can get serviceable quarterback play. It's just, what kind of team are they going to draft around him? And we're
yeah,
going to find out with Spytek, and the whole Brady vision.
yeah. And another aspect would probably be like being healthy with injuries. And as hard as this division is, maybe other teams being unhealthy or unlucky with injuries. Not saying that that's what you want to make your team competitive. Just sometimes it's how it goes. We expect at this point, I expect the Chargers, Broncos, and obviously the Chiefs to make the playoffs. That doesn't leave much room for the Raiders, So any given year.
Yep. Anthony, I love all the comments that you're leaving. I am going to go rapid fire on these, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anthony says, Doug Peterson and McCarthy have won Super Bowls. We addressed that. Yes, they have. With a strong pull in the NFL coaching streets. Monken had Lamar looking better this year than all his MVP years. I'd say maybe the first MVP year might have been like he was by far the best. Like Lamar wasn't even really considered an MVP until like the last couple games of the season when he was piling it on like bad teams.
Mm.
That's just kind of how I feel. Last season, right. Lamar did not deserve MVP. This season, you can definitely make the argument that he does, but it just kind of feels a little dirty that last season he didn't lead the league in any really particular stat category, and now we're going to use stats to justify him being the MVP when he's got that stacked team around him. I would give it I would go Josh Allen personally.
Yeah. I would say to this comment, Monken has helped Lamar as a passer.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I want to have a coach that can be there for 10 years potentially. Carroll will be 83 in 10 years. Well, the good news is that if Pete Carroll is there for 10 years, he's doing something right. And then chances are he will have other good coaches in the building with him. You don't think like Pete Carroll would know? Well, I mean, I guess he wouldn't just like outright like bring along his replacement, but like, I mean, he could have an assistant head coach and then all of a sudden, like, you get a good replacement for him eventually, theoretically. The Raiders would still have to like go through a coaching search and maybe they find the next best available candidate then. Right?
Right.
I feel like now is the time to get him. If you're going to hire him in 10 years, no, that's too late. Now is an appropriate time.
I agree with Anthony, though, in like that's what I envisioned this offseason of like, I want the guy that's going to last a long time. But now that it's like we only have one other guy, Monken, that we've interviewed that's an offensive guy, which is something that I expect or hope for this year at head coach. The fact that all the other guys are defensive minded, I'm just like, well, when it comes to like team building and developing a culture and stuff, like there's nobody close to Andy Reid, Pete Carroll, So at that point, I'm just like, well, fuck it. I don't really care about the age, I want what's best.
Come on, man. Get a younger guy. They had a younger guy. Antonio Pierce was a younger guy.
Josh McDaniels was a younger guy.
Was he? How old is Josh McDaniels?
Well, he's not younger. I don't know if he's younger than Antonio Pierce, but younger than Pete Carroll.
Dude, he's
maybe 40s. There you go. Yeah. So at the time, he was like 45. That's a younger guy. Like, that's the quintessential coach age. Like, Ben Johnson, Liam Cohen, those guys were around like 38, you know.
Oh,
You want a
shit.
guy
Yeah. Hey, you're right.
40s.
AP was 46.
Yeah. So I was just saying Josh McDaniels is younger than Pete Carroll. Like, when Anthony's saying get a younger guy, like, well, Josh McDaniels was a younger guy a couple years ago, you know? Like, that doesn't mean that that's the best option. I know what Anthony's saying. Like, yes, I would rather have the younger guy that is the best coach possible than the older guy that's the best coach possible. But at this point now, with the coaches that are available, I think the best coach possible is the older guy, you know, because guys like Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, and Aaron Glenn are out of the picture. Those are the younger guys that I liked.
Anthony says, I respect him, but he's 73. Bro, Tom Brady should go down there and Jackie Moon this team. Be an owner, play quarterback, and call plays. Mike, have you seen Semi-Pro?
I haven't, but I have heard the name. And
that's your homework now.
Yeah.
Because of Anthony's comment.
I wish this could be a thing. That would be the craziest thing ever. But also, I don't want a 45-year-old quarterback out there right now. So, or he might be older. So
I take Brady now over at AOC.
For sure. But like one hit and it's like my scapula.
Carroll is awesome, but he's a dinosaur. Exactly. I don't want that shit. He's too old. It's frustrating. Wait till the media is doing this shit, laughing and shit. First head coach that needs to sit in the booth because week 6 he collapsed running down the sideline or some shit. Knock on wood, it doesn't happen. But bro, 73. You think kids coming out of college want to sit down with his old ass? I don't know, man.
I don't think guys coming out of college or any NFL veteran is going to have a problem with Pete Carroll, in my personal opinion.
Yeah,
but I see your point.
John L. Boyd, tuning into the show. John, welcome in. Says the Raiders are cooked. Yeah, it certainly does feel that way, and it certainly has felt that way for a long time. Yeah. Big time college kids in the draft want to sit down with a 73-year-old? No. John says, no coach, no quarterback, no front office. Well, I'd say they're building the front office for sure.
Yeah.
But yes, currently no coach, no quarterback.
Yeah, the front office is there. It's just they got a new guy. It's so unproven, right? To the comment way earlier of like, I can't get too hyped about anything right now. And then no coach, no QB. Like the coach will come. Hopefully it's the right guy. The QB, we'll see. It's going to take a while. Hopefully it's this offseason. They just magically get it done. I mean, Pete Carroll randomly picked Russell Wilson in the 3rd round, and he was on a Hall of Fame trajectory, So anything can happen. Maybe Jackson Dart is the next Russell Wilson. I don't know. Do I think so? I doubt it, but anything can happen. So although it has been a very long tendency that the Raiders are and have been cooked, at any given moment, they could be the next Commanders, right? The Commanders have always been cooked. The Lions have always been cooked. And then it's just like a few right moves, the right coaching staff, the right people in charge. Boom, they're in the championship. Out of nowhere.
A new look at the Raiders' new QB1. I'm going to I don't want to get copyright claimed. Anthony, if you didn't like him as a head coach, you'll certainly love him as a quarterback.
That's crazy.
Yeah. They will not be competing for shit no time soon. Sorry. I mean, you could be right. Certainly, history would suggest so. I know.
I hope you're wrong.
Over here, just wishing you were a little nicer to the Raiders because I know Mike likes your profile picture.
Yes, and I'm excited for a certain movie in a couple months. But yeah, I mean, anything goes. I think the tendency, because of bad coaching hires and bad quarterback play, is that John has not been wrong for recent years. And if history repeats itself in this hiring cycle, he won't be wrong again. But optimistically, it's like, man, I like the sound of Spytek, and I think a guy like Pete Carroll or potentially Todd Monken or I guess Steve Spagnuolo, could really help in turning this thing around. But,
Anthony says hiring Carroll on the staff is great in a coaching / advisory level would be awesome, but head coach, nah, his time has passed. John says they're a terrible team and a tough decision. I think maybe a tough situation. They are in a tough situation. They're in a
division.
Oh, yeah, they're in a tough division.
Yeah, no, for sure.
They're going to have 5 to 6 losses just in their division. Yeah, I mean that is tough, but I mean
you would expect, but
divisional games are always interesting. Like, I mean, just last year the Raiders beat the Chiefs, and they should have beat the Chiefs this year had they not just completely fumbled quite literally.
Yeah.
Anthony says 49ers are in better shape, talking to Boyd. I'm going to laugh my ass off when you guys sign Purdy to a max deal. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Is Brock Purdy worth $60 million? No. Are many of the quarterbacks worth anywhere near that in the NFL? No. Are there 5 that are worth that? Yeah. Are the 49ers in position right now to add quarterback to their list of needs? No. Would I love it if Brock Purdy would just play out his contract and they franchise him? Yes. Is he going to do that? No. So you have to pay him. It's like, yeah, I would love for me to just go, well, if we're paying $60 million for a quarterback, Josh Allen, welcome aboard. Step right up. We have the money. But it's not how it works. And from a team building perspective, all the players are bought into Purdy. It's going to happen. They're going to sign him. They really don't have a choice. They do have a choice, but what is the alternative? Just all right, George Kittle has no chance. George Kittle and the core that you built has no chance this upcoming season. I get it. Long term, we don't know what Purdy's going to be. Every single year, quarterbacks have to reestablish themselves. Purdy's coming off and off, a down year. But, I don't know. I really feel like this is the last chance, right? And it's the Super Bowl is going to be at Levi's. And if Purdy really sucks, fucking fire them all. Clear house. Fire them all. Yeah. Shanahan had his opportunity to get a quarterback. And if Purdy sucks ass in a couple of years, and it's Shanahan never figured out the quarterback, then that was the first mistake that he ever made, because he had the chance at Mahomes and never figured it out. Right? Yeah. So I think that's what you got to do. And like Anthony says, Purdy is decent. It's not like we're signing an ass quarterback. Purdy will play as well as the pieces around him. And it's going to be harder to put pieces around him, but not impossible. Not amazing, but okay. I'd say he's pretty good. Purdy is AOC with a great play caller and weapons. And I'd say probably a better decision maker. And, I'd say maybe O'Connell might have a better arm in terms of zip. But Purdy also is a better runner. Aiden O'Connell has cinder blocks as his cleats.
Yeah. I would also say Purdy has, I think, better touch.
O'Connell it's all Purdy can do.
Yeah. But as far as the touch of the pass and accurately getting it there, I think Purdy might be better than O'Connell for the most part. But zip, I would probably give it to O'Connell.
I
But
think Purdy has some of the best touch in the NFL, I would
yeah,
say.
at
But
least
I don't think
every
he
other
has a
week.
fastball. He just doesn't.
Yeah.
But I mean, the fact that he does have such great touch, that's why he's able to still, work around it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
But I think I don't know. I think from the mid-season point and on this year, Anthony's kind of onto something, but kind of similar to like me saying, like, oh, Goff or Herbert, like in the reverse aspect, I guess here, like Purdy has played amazingly in the past. Like it's pretty hard for me to say, yeah, Purdy is Aiden O'Connell with a better play caller and weapons. Like, Purdy's done a bit more than that, and has more potential, I think. But it is funny because Purdy was the last pick of the draft, and O'Connell was like a 4th-round pick. So like,
Yeah,
really
it's imperative that the Niners draft well. But like I said, you probably have to extend Brock Purdy. That's really what makes the most sense. And if it all falls apart, clean house.
Yeah,
just clean house. It's not working.
Yeah. I mean, you've had the Super Bowl window. It's not going to last forever. If it doesn't work out and shit hits the fan, you have to clear house at some point.
Yeah,
Got to start over.
It's like, what are you going to do? Like, all right, the guy that couldn't find, I mean, theoretically in this situation, like I think Purdy's good, but theoretically in this situation where we just find out, you know what, Purdy all along really wasn't that good. This coach just like time after time, just wasting great teams, not knowing what the hell he's looking for in a quarterback.
Yeah.
To
John's point here, this is a great point. The Raiders have to get a quarterback and the right coach ASAP. You see what Denver went through the last 9 years. Yes. And, we see what the Raiders have gone through the last 20 plus years. And the best of it being, 1 or 2 years of Derek Carr's time here, which was 9 years, I think. But to that point, all it took was it kind of felt like 1 year for Sean Payton, the right coach, to find Bo Nix, the right quarterback, and suddenly it feels like they should be in the playoffs every year within 2 years of getting the right people. So why can't the Raiders do that? I can't tell you why they can't, but history shows they fucking won't, but hopefully this is finally it. Hopefully this is finally you hire the right guy. Hey, experienced guy, Pete Carroll, right? We keep saying it. Hopefully the GM's the right guy, bringing in the talent, and then they find the right opportunity to get the quarterback. Or they go the Geno Smith, or if you're somehow lucky, the Tom Brady route. I mean, you're not going to find a Tom Brady in the free agency, but like, I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers, but like what the Jets did to get Aaron Rodgers. Like, if a quarterback later in his career becomes available, that would fit really well with like our offense as like you said, a game manager, veteran, making efficient plays rather than a rookie, 4th-round pick who is going to make a lot of mistakes, right? Like as far as winning, I think that veteran would be better for the team. If they could somehow get that guy with the right coach, who knows? But
Anthony says he's going to get a wild contract, though. Yeah, everyone does. And it's like, I really wish the quarterback market wasn't what it is right now, because it's like every single time the cap goes up, the quarterbacks' contracts go up even more, like take a larger percentage, and then not everybody else really goes up. John says, I think we got to see what CMC really means to SF. Yeah, I mean, I also think that we got to see what not prioritizing, the rest of the offensive line. Like Dominic Pooney was a great addition, but Jake Brendel was not good this year. McKivitz was solid this year. And Aaron Banks, I think, maybe took a little bit of a step back. So they're going to have to address the offensive line. And, you know, I don't know what they can do with Debo. Try to trade him. Maybe the Ravens would want him.
Right.
Debo might be the right fit for the Ravens.
Or the Chargers.
Yeah, but they already have a receiver that can't catch.
Yeah.
Now, Debo can catch. He just leads the team in drops. 49er Media says, hey, everyone. 49er Media, welcome back. Thank you for tuning back into the show. Anthony says CMC is done. I hope not. I really hope not. I mean, he could be. Like Anthony says, his legs could be shot, but I think it's too early to tell. I'm getting so tired that we don't know who the defensive coordinator and special teams coordinator is yet. Yeah, it almost seems like the inevitable is just going to be that, oh man, Saleh gets hired at the last second by Jacksonville, and then the 49ers waited too long. Pete Carroll then gets hired by the Raiders, and then the 49ers are, you know what? We really like Brandon Staley, and then it's going to be fucking dog shit, dude. Like, all right, we're making changes this year. Our defense wasn't adequate, so we're going to replace Nick Sorensen with, because he just wasn't a good fit at the defensive coordinator, position. We're going to replace him with the guy, who was assisting him all season. And, Brandon Staley, what good has Brandon Staley done since like his time with the Rams?
Some flashes in the Chargers, but mostly nothing.
And then, all right, special teams coordinator. All right, we're just going to take the guy who failed at defense and switch him to special teams. Like, that really tells me what I already kind of feel about Shanahan, where he just kind of ignores like 2/3 of football a little bit, where, I mean, yeah, he'll draft defensive players, and he has, I mean, give him credit for hiring Robert Saleh and D'Amico Ryans, and Steve Wilkes. Steve Wilkes was good, but then he fired him after he had a top defense in the NFL. Like, I get it. It just wasn't the right fit, but I mean, they hired Nick Sorensen, who was a guy who interviewed at the same time as Steve Wilkes, and they chose Wilkes over him. And then now they want to backtrack, and then now they want to backtrack again. Like, I don't know. It's a mess, but like they absolutely should hire a guy that's not. I mean, Shanahan has always been I want a special teams that isn't going to lose you the football game. I like the teams that have the mindset of, we want to win the game on special teams. I would want a coach like that, because then, if you are playing not to lose, it's, inevitably you are going to eventually lose. But if you're playing to, I think, win, like, or be extraordinary on special teams, like, you don't want to just be the team that fair catches every single time. You're going to have explosive plays, and that can change the outcome of like games here and there. Look at the Niners would have gotten bounced by the Green Bay Packers a couple years ago in the playoffs had they not blocked that punt. Special teams matters.
Mm-hmm.
They blocked the punt, and then Talanoa Hufanga took it in for a touchdown. All of a sudden, Aaron Rodgers and the 1 seed Packers are going home, first round exit. So, yeah. 49ers media still has faith in CMC, doesn't think that he's done. Name all of his injuries and tell me you're not worried. I am worried. He's 29, or he's going to be 29. He's not getting any younger. Running backs don't last long, but I think what gives me hope is CMC has had season-ending injuries before and has come back. And he's also
really like great at keeping himself, healthy, I think, or in shape, and like he's a like fitness nerd, type of person. So I would expect him to be back. it's just wear and tear. Like for as much of a fitness guru or whatever you want to call him as he is, eventually everything that you've been through in the past will pile up and add on, add up to something. So
Yeah. Kyle Shanahan ran him into the ground. Yeah, I was literally saying almost every week, I feel like in 2023, like, yeah, would it hurt them to get Jordan Mason a little bit involved? And then last year, until this year, Jordan Mason, when he was involved, was great, and then he got hurt, so they ran him into the ground. So, let's see. I'm going to finish up the comments here, and then we're just going to preview the NFC and AFC Championship. CMC should take a year off if he's thinking about playing football, if he's even thinking about playing football again. I don't think that will help him. He's just going to get older, and he'll get rusty. So I see the logic of letting his body get right, but I disagree. Did you see the Lions signed Ronnie Bell, LMAO? Yeah, I think that has to do more with he played at Michigan, so they had Michigan scouts, obviously, for the Lions. So they probably liked something when he was in college. 49er Media says Kyle never learns and wants to change. He just wants to go with the people that he knows well. I cannot disagree at all.
Yeah, it honestly reminds me of Bill Belichick, the way that he picks coaches. At least back in the day with the Patriots, he picked a lot of guys just already on his staff.
Except Shanahan's coaches, when they leave his staff, are successful coaches and wherever they go. And Belichick had Mike Vrabel, and that was it.
Yeah.
Okay, deflector. Anthony, be nice to 49er Media. Come on, man. You can call the Niners a clown. You can criticize the Niners, but not Niners Media. I like Niners Media. I hope CMC takes a year off.
It just depends on his health, but I don't see it happening.
Well, to heal, that's different. But he had a lot of time off this year, so I'm hoping that he had enough time to heal.
Right.
I get CMC had the Achilles, tendonitis. But let's see what happens where he has a full off season before we can judge it. I agree, 49er Media. 49er Media does not like Anthony. If he plays again this season, or if he plays again this next season, he'll get put out. It says Anthony.
McCaffrey's going to get put out. He's going to put out.
Yeah. Well, let's put out the final topics of this show, and let's talk about the NFC Championship preview, and then we'll get into the AFC Championship.
For sure.
The Commanders are going to be playing in Philadelphia against the Eagles. Mike, I'm going to defer to you on this one first. I want to hear what you have to say, and then I'll tell you what I'm thinking.
Oh, I'm wearing my Jalen Hurts sweatshirt that I got to celebrate Jalen Hurts, leading me to my first fantasy football championship. That was not this year. That was 2 years ago. This year it was Joe Burrow. Anyways, but what I love about both of these games is that there's no clear-cut favorite to me. All right, yeah, the Eagles are favorites probably, I would assume. And yeah, the Chiefs are probably favorites because they're the Chiefs at home. But at least the makeups of these teams and the history, even this season of these teams matching up. Eagles versus Washington. Both games were within 6 points, and each of them won a game. Bills versus Chiefs. The Bills beat the Chiefs this year. So it's I just can't help but sit here and be anything can happen. And I just hope both games are just phenomenal. And above all, I just hope the Chiefs lose. Now, as far as previewing and like really thinking about like what's going to happen in this game,
We're talking about Commanders and Eagles.
Commanders, Eagles, NFC Championship. Oh, I mean, this is tough, man, because I think on one side you have a team who is hot, might actually kind of not secretly, but might be the hottest team in football right now in the Commanders. And getting hot at the right time is a big. That's important in the playoffs. If you get hot at the right time, that can be the difference. But like structurally as a team, you have the team with the stud quarterback, an okay run game. I don't know how good their offensive line is. I'm assuming they're pretty good for how good they are this season.
Well, I think they don't even have like an extraordinary offensive line, the Commanders.
Right.
I think that like they're just able to stretch the field. You know, the defenses have to adjust to. They can't just hone in on the run. You know,
they also have to be.
Or they can't just hone in on the running back. You know, they're. Sorry, I'm stuttering because I get so flustered, man, thinking about that offense.
Yeah, I mean, Jaden Daniels' mobility also has to keep the defense a little honest too. You know, it's not just the run game; it's also Jaden Daniels any given play. So
that's where I was getting.
Have a spy, or just being aware of that has to keep them honest for sure. And yeah, like Terry McLaurin, just going vertical on defenses is any given play. So they obviously their offense is efficient and has the firepower, and specifically they have the quarterback. And then on defensively, just looking at both teams, defensively, pretty solid defensive line, specifically on the interior. But like kind of overall middle of the pack defense. You got Bobby Wagner at linebacker leading the charge, right? They maybe their corners are better than I know. I'm trying to think of maybe they. I couldn't name you their corners, but I think there's one guy that is it Sainris still or something like that. I want to say they might have drafted the guy out of Michigan. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
I forget, but maybe they have a stud corner. I just don't realize it. But from an overall defense, they have say the 16th ranked defense, like just right in the middle of the league, right? Of scoring defense this season. Obviously against the Lions, they looked great. And if they keep that up, they can absolutely win this game. It's just, I don't think that they are the strongest against the run, and that's the strength of the Eagles. Meanwhile, the Eagles have a great defense. And, I would say chances are their trenches, their offensive and defensive lines are better than the Washington Commanders. And that feels like that should be enough. At home for Philadelphia, that should be enough. Where I start to question the Eagles is the guy that I fucking love, which is Jalen Hurts, the guy on my sweatshirt. Because I think he had his concussion, and maybe even before that concussion, I don't think he was throwing the ball all too impressively, And then he came back, and I talked about Josh Allen having 127 yards last week. That's what Jalen Hurts has kind of been doing. Very minimal shit. AJ Brown having one catch a game type shit. And I think if the Commanders score and they get a lead because they're that hot offense, if they get the lead on the Eagles, they might beat the fucking shit out of them. Because maybe Jalen Hurts can't do it. Just like
his knee, man. Jalen Hurts is on that knee injury.
Yeah, everything from a team versus team standpoint, besides Jaden Daniels, everything points to the Eagles should dog walk this team. But my gut is telling me if the Commanders keep it up and they keep the lead on this team, they can beat them by like 10. Because at that point, you can't run Saquon every play. And Saquon is their offense right now. So, but again, middle of the pack defense for Washington. If the Eagles run all over them, control the time of possession by just running the ball, the Eagles could beat the shit out of the Commanders. It really could go either way. The difference for me, in my opinion, right now, I think is the quarterbacks. And that's kind of making me lean Commanders.
So what's your pick? Or do you want me to add my context and my thoughts before,
Yeah, give me your context while I think.
Okay. So we know these teams are in the same division. So what we do know from that is that they played each other twice this year. Earlier this season, when the Commanders traveled to Philadelphia, Jaden Daniels was kind of dealing with that, the rib injury. And, they said that he was healthy, but he didn't necessarily look like he was healthy. So what we know is in the middle of the season, Jaden Daniels struggled against tough defenses. And the Eagles are a tough defense. Like literally, I want to pick the Commanders, but Jalen Carter right now is an X factor who I was listening to Grant and his dad the other day or yesterday, and they were talking about players that you dread to play against. Jaden Daniels is a player that you dread to play against. Jalen Carter, on the other hand, also, it's like Jalen Carter can make Jaden Daniels forced to have to beat them himself. And I think that that's how it's going to play out. I think that the Commanders are only going to go as far as Jaden Daniels will take them, because I don't think that they're going to be able to establish the run, against that Philadelphia defense. It's going to be in Philadelphia, where Jaden Daniels already struggled. If you look at the second time they played this season, so it was, obviously it was at home for the Commanders. And I mean, really, like, you can argue on whether or not the Commanders really have that big of a home field presence, from their fan base, right? Of like, versus if you go into Philadelphia, that's tough. My AirPod just died. Hold on. Let me switch AirPods. Hopefully, I mean, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. In the second matchup, Jaden Daniels played. I mean, they started off slow. They got off to a really slow start. I think they might have went for it on fourth down, didn't get it on the first drive of the game. I know that the Commanders are going to go for it on fourth down. That's just what they do. And I think earlier on in the season, they proved, like, there was this primetime game, and Jaden Daniels was like begging Dan Quinn, like, let me go for it. And then he put the team on his back and went for it. Right?
Not even against the Bengals.
It might have been. Yeah, I think it was. That was a good game. It was incredible. Jaden Daniels is remarkable. I want nothing more for him than to just be the first rookie quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl. That would be insane.
Be awesome.
I don't even know if a rookie quarterback has ever been to a Super Bowl.
I saw, like, now with him included, I think there's, like, been 5 or 6. Like, Flacco, Roethlisberger.
Flacco was a rookie?
Yeah, but I don't know. I think that might have been, like, against the Colts or Patriots or some other team that might have beat them, like the Broncos or something.
No.
I have no idea.
Flacco's only Super Bowl was against
the Niners.
Yeah,
yeah,
that was his only Super Bowl.
Right, but a couple years before that, they might. Sorry, not Super Bowl, championship. I'm just saying championship. There's only been like 5 or 6 rookie quarterbacks to make the championship, not even Super Bowl. I don't know if any of them made the Super Bowl. That's the thing that I didn't even get clarity on.
Let me look that up. How many rookie QBs have made it to the Super Bowl. No rookie quarterbacks have ever made it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So
that's insane. Jaden Daniels can make history. And I feel like he just might. So in that second game, they got off to a slow start. And then Jalen Hurts got hurt. He got a concussion. He was knocked out of the game. And then what's his face? Kenny Pickett had to take over for the Eagles, and then they couldn't really sustain drives, which played in the favor of Jaden Daniels and that team.
Yeah.
Now we're here in NFC Championship, and they're still playing that good defense. Jalen Hurts is banged up. And yeah, like if Jaden Daniels has a good game, I find it hard to imagine that the Eagles are going to win this game. It's really all in Jaden Daniels' hands, and we don't know if the pressure is finally going to be too much for him, but he has answered every single question this year. They were a 12-win team. They've won 14 football games this year, if you include playoffs. That is impressive for a rookie. With a team that, we weren't even expecting them in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Man. I guess I'll pick first on this one. I guess I will pick first on this one. Okay.
I'll give you my pick.
Okay, give me your pick.
Although I gave a lot of reasons for the opposite, I'm going to pick the Eagles.
Okay.
And the reason why is actually when you said that in the second game, when the Commanders beat the Eagles, that was the game that Jalen Hurts got his concussion or got a concussion, and the Pickett came in. Yeah. And it was a high-scoring game, and it was a little back and forth to the end. But obviously the Commanders won. Like, even though both games were super close, that kind of tells me maybe the Eagles secretly have their number. And again, on paper, they're the better team, And I think I can just envision like them being the team that gives Jaden Daniels fits. But then again, like Jaden Daniels has scored like at least 28 both times on this team. So it really can go either way, man. But I'm going to go with what I think is the better team in the Eagles. And I think at home, they run the ball. Their defense gets a couple stops that maybe the Commanders don't usually get stopped, and, the Eagles get it done.
The Eagles are the more complete team. Their offensive line is better. Their defensive line is better.
But
their running back is better. It's dynamic. My gut really tells me my gut tells me that the Eagles are going to win this game. I am going to pick the Eagles, but I would not be shocked if Jaden Daniels wills them to another win.
Dude. I would not be shocked at all. And honestly, when I was I
want it so bad.
I think honestly, if you didn't start talking, you just said, "Give me your pick, Mike," before you gave your side to everything, I would have said Commanders like 10 minutes ago. But I don't know. I'm going to go with the team that I think is better. There's just that inkling of me in the back of my head that's just like, man, I could see Jalen Hurts being the quarterback this weekend that shits his pants. I could totally see it.
See, oh man, the added wrinkle, if I was, I know I just said the Eagles right now, but it's that close to where I don't even want to write it down.
I know. I want to just
injured. Him being injured is crazy.
Right.
It adds that wrinkle.
Right.
But I just think that the Eagles defense is going to make the Commanders have to beat them in the air, which they can do. But oh man, that's tough. And then also the Eagles. All right, so the Commanders are probably the hottest team in football right now, like we mentioned. The Eagles are the cold. They're really cold. I feel like they almost blew that game against the Rams, and then they almost blew the game. Who they played the week before? The Packers.
Packers.
Wasn't it
They
like
yeah,
didn't they
they
play badly?
man, fuck. Yeah, they weren't.
Besides Jordan Love just played
I
worse.
think Jordan Love didn't play good, but the Eagles didn't put that game away like they should have.
Mm.
That's a fair point, dude. Like, I think when Saquon got that second touchdown, it felt like, yeah, the Eagles are the Eagles, you know? But then when the Rams started coming back, it's like, whoa, didn't see that coming. Man, I mean, again, like the Commanders are the hot team. Fuck. This is so hard. And to think next we have to pick between the Bills and the fucking Chiefs. Like this is gonna be great. This championship weekend, I just hope they're close games and just like super competitive. Well, no, that's not true. I hope the Bills kill the Chiefs. I hope they embarrass them.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I think about this too. Like I think about like big picture stuff. I think like, all right, Jalen Hurts has already lost a Super Bowl. Oh, you know what? Isn't there a stat that no quarterback who has ever lost a Super Bowl, in their first time has ever gone back?
Gosh. Oh, that's crazy.
So no matter what, history is going to be made. God, dude.
Okay, think of that. All right. If that's a true stat, imagine if it's Commanders Bills. Whichever quarterback loses that Super Bowl will never go back. In theory.
That would suck. Like, all right, that's almost why I feel like, all right, it's not Jaden Daniels' time yet, because I just don't think that Jaden Daniels is gonna go win a Super Bowl this year.
Right.
But I mean, he's made of the right stuff. Like he wants, like Jaden Daniels wants the smoke.
Jesus.
Oh God.
Man. I feel like the fact that we're so 50-50, we almost shouldn't even write our picks in and just be like, you know what? On Sunday before the game starts, we should give our final, like text it to each other. And then when we come back on the pod, just be like, yeah, this is what we picked.
Well, I'm going to make a decision one way. I'm not going to leave everybody like, oh, yeah, they didn't even pick. No, I'm going to make a decision, and then if anything changes, I'll let you know. But like, I mean, just thinking about this, like, it's giving me diarrhea. Like.
Well, honestly, the more I'm thinking about it, the more I want to switch to Commanders. Ugh. This is tough, dude. The hot team.
The hot team,
the better team on paper,
versus the home team. Oh God, even the all right. What really kills me is the Commanders didn't just make it this far; it's who they beat to get this far. All right. I picked them over the Buccaneers, but them over the Lions. That's a crazy good win. Like that's like they're ready for the moment.
Yeah.
And I feel like the Lions are better than the Eagles. Oh, God, Mike. If Jalen Hurts has to win this game for the Eagles, they're not going to win.
That was my point to begin. Was like, I think if the Commanders do what they do, which is score points, if they get ahead and they keep that lead like they did on the Lions, it's Commanders. The Commanders are in the Super Bowl. Like, fuck, dude, the Commanders being in the Super Bowl, that's crazy.
That'd be insane.
That is crazy.
You know what? We got to go with the Super Bowl logo theory. What does the Super Bowl logo tell us?
It's red and green.
Well, there's your answer.
Yeah, that's sad. Oh, because you know what that means.
It means that Mahomes is going to have 4 rings, only beating 2 different teams.
Yeah. Our best bet at that point is the Eagles wanting revenge on the Chiefs for like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. I want Commanders Bills so bad.
I want it so bad. Oh God. This might be the toughest pick we've had to make all season.
Yeah, I mean division opponents in the championship, that's just rough.
I'm so sorry for everybody at home. Like,
It's funny because I've made my pick and I'm still thinking.
Yeah. What do you guys think in the comments? What do you guys think? Let us know. I'm going to go with the Eagles. Okay.
We can move on to Bills Chiefs. I might switch my pick.
I might switch my pick later in the week, but let's go to the AFC Championship. What says you, Mike? Well, I guess I have to go first.
I went first. Yeah.
I got to go first. All right. I will spend a little less time with this.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are at home. Taylor Swift's in the booth. And the Bills they're coming to town, okay? You said they might be the best team. But let me just tell you. The Bills are going to have to play 11 players against Kansas City's 12. Okay?
Wait, how many refs on the field? It's more like 16.
Yeah. No, dude, it's poor Josh Allen. He's going to lose again. I'm picking the Chiefs. I just don't think that Josh Allen has the supporting cast to get it done yet. And history is going to repeat itself. And, America is going to lose because nobody wants to see the Eagles versus Chiefs besides Eagles and Chiefs fans. Everyone else wants to see Bills versus Commanders. And, I don't know, man. If it's Eagles Chiefs, it's like it would be like Satan versus Osama, Nobody.
It's like Russia versus North Korea.
Yeah. It's like, well, maybe. I mean, it's like Russia versus North Korea, but you know that somebody's going to win at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Joel says Eagles, but he's rooting for the Commanders in terms of the NFC Championship. And yeah, Chiefs are making the Super Bowl no matter what, sadly.
Not says I. I'm picking the Bills.
You're picking the Bills. I want the Bills to win.
I'm doing it, dude. I think Josh Allen's going to do it, man. I'm so hopeful. In part because I think this Bills team, simply put, I know it's not the best explanation, but simply put, I think they can outscore the Chiefs. And I think, that can easily be said any given week for almost any team. But, like, I don't know, man. The Chiefs aren't really that team. Like, look at what they did against the Texans. And granted, the Texans actually have a good defense. But, like, most of that game, it was low scoring. Like, first half, what was the score? Like maybe it was 12-12 or something? I could be wrong. It might have been less.
I think it was 13-12 because Fairbairn missed an extra point.
Yeah, dumb shit.
Yeah,
but
know your facts, Mike. But no, I mean,
I'm talking about Fairbairn.
You know what? This Super Bowl could very well be Chiefs versus Commanders, and it could be, no team has ever three-peated before, and no rookie quarterback has ever won before. What's gonna crack first?
You know what? You saying that makes me think that's exactly what's gonna happen. And that's like because that's the ultimate story. It's literally David versus Goliath.
Yep.
That's what it is.
And then the Chiefs are just going to end up winning anyway. And then it's going to be annoying. And then, like, we're all going to be mad about it. And then we're going to miss football a couple months from now. And the NFL has us on a stranglehold. And we have to watch Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce propose to her after the Super Bowl victory. And then we're going to all want to lay down, throw up in our eyes. And I don't know. The script has been written. Okay. That's exactly how it's going to go. That's exactly how it's
true. I'm keeping my Bills pick. I'm switching to Commanders.
I'm going good vibes.
Yep, I'm going good vibes. Fuck it.
Okay. I respect it. You're keeping Bills. Oh, man. If we get Bills Commanders, Mike, we're all winners. We're all winners if we get Bills Commanders.
Man.
Oh, God. I don't want to watch Eagles Chiefs again. It's going to be Rams versus Patriots again. That Super Bowl was horrible. Although it will be a little bit better because you'll at least see Saquon. But please no, please, Commanders Bills. Everybody wants it. Please, can we start a petition? Can we start a GoFundMe? Can we pay the refs? Can we put up more money to pay the refs than Kansas City? If you would like to donate, I could set up a GoFundMe. There's no guarantee that the money will make it to the refs. Okay. It might go into investing in the Silver and Gold, podcast YouTube channel. No promises. What just happened, Mike?
Now I'm second guessing fucking Bills, man. Fuck.
I just don't. They don't have 1,000-yard receiver. It's Josh Allen. James Cook is good. I just don't think it's enough.
I'm gonna stick with the Bills, and I also need to go to bed. But I think Commanders Chiefs. You've sold me on that. Like that just makes sense, dude. That makes so much sense from a storyline perspective to just the game matchups. Like I can just see it now where it's like Chris Jones just owns the fucking Bills offensive line. Josh Allen tries to play hero ball. They can't get anything going with James Cook, and that's why Josh Allen has to play hero ball. The Chiefs do enough scoring to where, it's not like the Bills can just keep a good pace on them. Like they have to score more, but, some bullshit happens. Chiefs defense is so good. That's what's scaring me is the Chiefs defense. Plus, obviously, Mahomes being efficient and just, getting lucky. On 3rd and fucking 8, he'll scramble for 9 yards. They'll get their penalties. Travis Kelce, at some point late in this fourth quarter, big 3rd down, 3rd and 15, and Travis Kelce's going to be wide open for 12-yard gain, catches the ball, and then runs for 4 yards, barely gets the first down because the Bills played fucking zone coverage. I can just see it all now, But God, I hope my pick is right. I'm picking the Bills because I'm sticking to my belief that they are secretly the best team in football, and I'm picking the Commanders because they are the hottest team in football.
Mm-hmm. And if you are right, Mike, I won't even mind that. I won't even mind that. I just suck ass at picking. I'll just be happy because we'll all win.
Currently, we're tied.
Yeah. Joel says donate to the Me Foundation. Yeah. Donate to me. So those are our picks.
There you go. Hell of a year of picking. Oh, we'll still have one more pick.
It's not over yet. Yeah, we'll still have Super Bowl. So
hopefully we're not picking the Chiefs.
I felt like the three-peat was inevitable. They were talking about it all off season.
Right. Again, like you get the three-peat opportunity, and then you're up against a rookie. It just feels like, and not only up against a rookie, again, the hottest team in football, but the Chiefs get a matchup for the three-peat up against like the 16th ranked scoring defense. It's just like, my only hope is that Dan Quinn is just in his fucking bag. You know?
Mm-hmm.
That's the only hope.
It's just going to be, I want to thank all the haters who didn't think that we could beat a rookie quarterback. Everybody said we wouldn't be here today. I want to thank my favorite referee, Sean Hockley. Sean, sometimes I have Brittany put a bag over her head, and I think of you. And that is how I got sued by Patrick Mahomes on January 22nd, 2025. And that is how the Silver and Gold podcast got taken down.
Yeah. Honestly, some of the funniest videos right now are those like Instagram reels where it's like AI voiceover of Chris Collinsworth and Mike Tirico.
Yeah.
Mahomo! He keeps calling him. Oh, dude, it's so fucking funny. And then like his pet zebras are throwing a flag. The commentary is hilarious.
Who's hosting the Super Bowl this year? Like what's the broadcast? Is it NBC?
I want to say.
I think it is NBC this year.
No, I want to say it's Fox with Brady.
Oh, please. But, because I won't be able to tolerate, like, Jaden Daniels or Jalen Hurts, running on the field. Now, here's a guy. Well, I tell you, he's not the guy on the other sideline, but, I mean, who can beat Patrick Mahomes? Patrick Mahomes is quite something. Chris, I appreciate you always complimenting me, but I want you to also thank Sean Hockley for making this, available, or making this all happen today. I could not be here without those 15-yard penalties in those crucial situations.
Now, can you bring in Beth Mowens commentating Clive Walford scoring a touchdown?
The Chiefs bring in they signed Clive Walford. Travis Kelce just inexplicably got hurt. All right, Clive Walford scores the touchdown. The Chiefs are gonna be the three-peat champions.
Oh
man,
Clive Walford.
Oh man, this was a great show. Let's see. Joel's over here cracking up, so that was good. Gomez 48 says, I really hope the 49ers win the Super Bowl in their home at Levi's, the gold mine. That would be worth it. Of all of the playoff losses that we've endured, if we somehow are able to win the Super Bowl at home, I'd take it. You know what? I would take it. Because there's a chance that I might just decide, fuck it, I'll go to the game. And I might get 2 bucket list items, watching the Niners win a Super Bowl and attending a Super Bowl. And really 3, attending a 49ers Super Bowl that they win. But let me tell you, you will not, Josh from Silver and Gold will not be here the next day if I go to that Super Bowl and they don't win, okay? There will be no more Silver and Gold podcast. There will be no more Josh. Okay?
Yeah.
Simple as that. But, yeah, man. God, I wanted them to win Super Bowl 50,
Yeah.
I really wanted them to win Super Bowl 50, but they didn't make it. Joel says, real quick, I probably missed it. Pete Carroll for the Raiders, yes or no? You did miss it. Yes.
Big
Both
yes.
of us? Big yes.
Both of us, number 1 option right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so if you want to rewind, we talked about it while we were taking comments in the
Divisional.
No, not the divisional. Well,
Oh,
yeah, I think we
Spytek.
talked about it a little bit, but yeah, the
Yeah.
Spytek topic. Yeah, just
Well,
rewatch the Spytek topic. We get into it like, we get into Pete Carroll pretty quickly. Yeah. So might take like at least 10 minutes for us to start talking about Pete Carroll, but yeah. But yeah, man, it was a great show. I want to thank Joel. Joel, by the way, Anthony's always here. Well, Anthony was here earlier. Does not like Pete Carroll.
Yeah. Can you take me off the screen for a second? Count to 7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What's that for? If the Chiefs go back to the Super Bowl and win it?
Yeah, if the Chiefs win, that's my reaction.
Yep, me too. Get the bubble yum gum ready. Yeah, man. I mean, Mark Davis better invest, better start making commercials already, because I think Pete Carroll's got to be the guy.
It's great advertising.
Yeah. I want to quickly thank Joel, Gomez 48, Anthony, 49er Media. I almost said Anthony again because, Anthony was on fire today. He was pissed off. It did not like Pete Carroll. But I am not pissed off when he's, contributing to the show so much. John L. Boyd. I also want to thank Amin the Dream, Zach Hollingsworth, Brandon Halam, and Space Beast. And if I missed anybody else, I apologize, but I did miss somebody. We got one more comment. Andrew Mace says, could you imagine having all of the NFL media saying that you're about to get Ben Johnson and you end up with Spytek or Pete Carroll? LOL.
You know what?
I think the Pete Carroll aspect and really the Spytek aspect isn't so bad. Like if it would have been Spytek and Ben Johnson, like I don't think that we would be having like this same conversation. But like I feel like Pete Carroll just kind of fits in a little bit more of the coaching arms race of the AFC West.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think there's any Raider fan. Maybe there's some, but I don't see why any Raider fan would be taking the Spytek hire as a negative. I get what you're saying of like, well, compared to Ben Johnson, it's nothing. Yeah, my main thing from this comment is what I didn't bring up, which is, man, what the fuck is wrong with the Raiders beat reporters and insiders? Because they were all saying, Ben Johnson's the front runner, and as far as we can tell, the Raiders are his front runner. It's like they were just making it out like Hondo Carpenter. Dude. Like he's posting videos daily on YouTube and shit, just like winking at the camera like they're getting him. And I'm like, damn. He didn't say they're getting him, but he would wink at the camera, and I'm like, damn, like this is really happening. Like he was confident. And I think Vinny Bonsignore was pretty confident too. And even the Athletic was, Vic Tafer and Tashawn Reed were saying, the Raiders seem to be the favorite and all that, and Ian Rappaport even said that the Raiders are seemingly the favorite. And then, Bears, no questions asked, like didn't even meet with the Bears in person, just, yeah, I'm going to the Bears. It's like I just got left at the fucking altar. I was standing there waiting, like I can't wait for him to be our head coach. I've been waiting for this all my life. Like I didn't know that it was him, but this is the guy I've been waiting for all my life to be the Raiders head coach.
Mm-hmm.
And then go Bears.
That like that meme or that like comic book thing where it's like it's like looking good, Susan. you know, and then she's like, "Oh, you're sweet," because it's like a handsome guy, and then like there's like a ugly fat guy looking good. Susan, hello, human resources. Like that's what you just put the Raiders as that second guy, and that for whatever reason, every single coach, it's human resources, man.
Yeah. Or to Anthony, Pete Carroll.
Andrew says, "Bear down." I don't know if you mean the Bears hopefully will go down since they took Ben Johnson, or if you're saying you're a Bears fan and you're standing 10 toes down with the Bears, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking he's a Bears fan, but
it's a little ironic, to have a Bears fan with the last name Mace. No disrespect, but like, Bear Mace, that's pretty cool.
Da Bears, man.
Yeah, Mike. So Andrew, I got to fill you in. Mike is not very fond of Bears fans right now because of all the. I mean, it's just the fighting over Ben Johnson. Mike was not happy with the Bears fans that were intruding Raider discussions of like, oh, he's not going to you guys, he's coming to us.
Like obviously, both of our fan bases wanted him the most, and. Like, again, that's the annoying part is that the reporting came out like, man, the Raiders sure look like the favorite. And we're sitting here like, oh my God, really? Like, no fucking way, And then days went on of like, yeah, man. It's like, oh my God, I guess we are. And Bears fans are just sitting there like, but we have Caleb Williams and we have a good defense and blah, 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 like fucking crying about it. And I'm like, suck my dick. And then fucking reverses at the end. It's like, should have known. Honestly, should have known. But it's just the whole time that the Bears fans were like, there was literally a guy who was like, I don't know if he works for it wasn't the news, but like some sort of Detroit fan on some sort of sports show saying, like I said earlier, if Ben Johnson chooses the Raiders, then I'm glad. I'm glad he's not the Bears coach because he's stupid. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Get over yourself, dude. You want him. And then he got him. And it's annoying. So whatever.
Man. You're on fire tonight, Mike.
Thank you.
But you should have known, though, when Schefter said, like, yeah, I'm not in that boat. Like, Schefter knew.
Yeah, well, and that was the thing was I saw that, and there were a bunch of Raider fans making memes about that. Honestly, if you can find the tweet that you sent me, where it was the meme of like Bears fan versus Raider fan,
Hold on.
That shit was
I sent it to you.
I reposted it. You can look at my profile. I reposted it.
Okay, hold on.
Like this is what the comments were when the reports started coming out that like the Raiders are the favorite for Ben Johnson. And again, like it's the perfect meme because the Raider fan is just like, oh my God, no way. And then the Bears fans in the background like, fuck you.
Yeah. Okay. Hold on. We'll put it up. It's pretty good. All right. Let's see here. I hope we get Ben Johnson.
As it's like licking a lollipop, just some little kid.
Play with a little rocket ship toy.
Yeah. It's just like the super nerve-wracking face. I hate you. I hope you die. Like, that's how the comments were, dude. It was like, it'd be Raider fans and like Raider like accounts posting things like, wow, this is what we could do if we get Ben Johnson. And then there's like Bears fans like, why the hell would the Raiders get Ben Johnson? I'm like, geez, dude. God.
How could they possibly consider the Raiders?
Oh, actually, it wasn't even that light. It was like, why the fuck would he choose Aiden O'Connell over former first overall pick? Blah, blah, blah. Like, just dog walking the Raiders roster, and I'm like, I get it, but the reports are the reports, baby. And then that shadow over my face, and now I'm like, all right, which reporter was it? Which
Hey,
guy was it? I got to talk to him.
all you need is just confirmation from Ben Johnson. Like, you just need him to go, yeah, I actually was strongly considering the Raiders, but the reporters kept making it weird, and I saw how much Bears fans wanted me. Yeah, that'd be great. But like, there was that great moment. Like, I kind of feel like happy for Caleb Williams a little bit, because there was that moment where he got pranked, and I'm like, dude, he thinks, he was thinking like, oh fuck yes, I got Ben Johnson, like my career is saved. And then like all of a sudden it's these kids messing around with him, and then like the next head coach he's gonna get is gonna be Nick Sorensen,
Jesus. Yeah, no, that for sure. That was funny. No, but at the end of the day here, this is my last point. I fully believe that, by using the media and everything, I just think Ben Johnson was leveraging the Raiders for the Bears job. And I believe him when he says the Bears were the team that he wanted all along. I believe it, in part because of how quickly he acted on it, And I think what probably happened was the Bears came to him with an offer that he was like, fuck yeah, I'll sign that. Like he could have signed for way less, but because he leveraged the Raiders and like I might go to the Raiders are trying to get me in the plane right now. Bears said no, just sign this like blank check.
Dude,
it's like you already wanted to go there.
How would you feel if like Pete Carroll uses the Raiders to leverage himself to the Jaguars? And like he like admits to it, like, yeah, I was actually gonna sign with the Raiders, but I wasn't gonna sign with the Raiders. Like, everybody uses the Raiders. Like, who wants to go there? Like, you would just say, you'd be done, man. You would.
Yeah, at that point, I'd just be, I'd be anti-Chiefs fan. This week I'd be a Bills fan. Next week I'll be a Commanders or Eagles fan. At that, I don't know. I really don't know. No, sometimes the struggle makes the success worth it, and I'm still waiting on the success, and I've had a lot of struggle. So someday it's going to feel awesome. Until then, I'm going to keep being a sad football fan.
You're like the 35-year-old who has been, playing quarterback nonstop out of high school, like, playing in these like semi-pro like leagues, and just I'm just waiting for the NFL to reach out. Like I feel like I have a lot left in the tank, and like, like I'm just waiting for that one opportunity for success. I possess it in me, and like, it's like, all right, dude, you're turning 36, like, come on, it's time to stop.
Yeah, me being a devoted Raider fan who every year looks at the new coaching staff, looks at the roster, and convinces myself that they can win 10 games. Meanwhile, I have no signs of getting married soon, and having kids and all that good stuff. I'm basically Jamarcus Russell, like 8 years post getting cut by the Raiders, saying, I'd love to come back to the NFL anytime. Like, okay, yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. Gomez 48 with the last comment of the day says, Moody needs to be booted. 3 straight missed field goals. I missed Robbie Gould. Yeah, I miss Robbie Gould too, but he's retired. And we should never have drafted Moody. Like, all right, he could have just went undrafted. You never know. Like, we didn't have to use a draft pick on him, or we could have just signed a kicker off the street like everyone does. We didn't have to, like, I don't know, prioritize kicker over, defensive line, offensive line. You know, it's such a bad pick in hindsight. It was such a bad pick then. It's even worse in retrospect because Moody was bad. But you know what's not bad is this channel. If you enjoyed watching us tonight, please consider liking the stream, subscribing, and if you left comments, please continue feel welcome to leave comments. And if you didn't comment, you're also welcome to leave comments. We appreciate it. Even if the video is not live, we take a look at those comments. We take time to reply to them. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the games on Sunday, but I am not looking forward to an Eagles-Chiefs Super Bowl, which I feel is inevitable. That would be horrible. Although the last time they played, it was a good game. These teams are entirely different now. I don't know what Mike is doing, but I think that's a telltale sign. It's time for us to get out of here. Mike, do you have any last words before we get out?
Go Bills.
Yeah, man. Bills, Commanders, make it happen, NFL. I don't want to hear that Kermit the Frog quarterback. Oh, God. I don't want to hear him at Media Day next week. Oh, well, in 2 weeks. I just don't. Let somebody else get a turn. Demokes at the buzzer says, Raiders. I did it.
The Raiders.
Yeah, Raiders.
Clive Walford.
Clive Walford down the sideline for I'm here. All right, everybody. Have a great night. It's been a great show. I'll catch you guys in the next one.